Recording.
Yeah, the Elder Sign, the spell itself is very specific on how it is to be used.
So what spell are you guys talking about using against the Dark Child? What spell is it that Lee
Banish
referenced?
Dark Child.
We've got two things we could use against the Dark Child. One is an Elder Sign. The only problem with the Elder Sign right now is because we don't have the oil, it's going to cost permanent power. But we also have like a spell in the Nameless Cults that you can cast, but it just puts the Dark Child away for like a year.
Well, that doesn't sound too bad.
That's what we did this last time, but a year passed as fast in game time.
Apparently.
At least that's the way you see it, anyway. Everything's all still very mysterious, and what the incantation does, how long it takes, and
Oh, okay, so a year has passed since Folly Farm. I see, and that's why she's... Okay, everything makes sense now.
well, a little less than a year, actually, yeah.
So Banish Dark Child doesn't truly banish her, it just kind of puts her in the corner.
Puts her in timeout for a year.
Yeah, so it's interesting about the Elder Sign. An Elder Sign may be formed into a leaden seal, carved in a rock, forged in steel, etc., etc. And when made active beside an opening or gate, it makes that path unusable to minions of the Great Old Ones or outer gods, as well as to those greater beings themselves. But it's interesting to know the writings say, in effect, in so many words, that the Elder Sign is worthless in personal defense. If one of these gods or beings or something can evade the sign. So worn around the neck, for instance,
Right.
an Elder Sign might protect a few square inches of flesh, but the rest of the wearer's body would be completely vulnerable.
Ah, okay. Now, if I were to go, say, fully insane and carve one onto my back...
Yes, if you were devoured by some creature that would be normally affected by the Elder Sign, there might be a few scraps of bloody flesh left of Edgar.
Oh,
You know?
cool.
But that beast would have indigestion for at least 2 days.
Yeah.
Okay, so... Again, I guess that means that you have to put it on a building or something worthwhile.
Like ideally, if we could cast it and put it on like like a panic room at the Crown and Shield Manor,
maybe at that hall. There's probably a portal there somewhere.
Yeah, and one potential use for it, guys, I don't know if you've considered this, but you could cast it onto a piece of metal or a stone or something like that, carry it around with you, and if you find a portal or something, a pit or something like that, you can actually use that stone. You can set it into a door, say, or something like that.
Right.
So it would be possibly effective in that manner as well.
So we could cast it, carry it around with us, and use it when necessary.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yep.
Or just for regular decoration. I mean, it's kind of nice just to have around.
Mm-hmm. And it glows a nice pale blue.
It does. You put it in the right sort of circumstances with some fancy finger sandwiches, you got yourself a...
Yeah, I think technically it glows, and if it's completely dark, that's when it kind of glows. But
Feng shui.
So, Elder Sign, bottle of wine, some berry white.
Exactly.
Very good, Lee. Very good. Sounds like a lovely evening.
Yes.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's take care of some business here. Skill checks.
Skill checks. Woo!
Just open up your character sheet. Look and see if you have any skills checked. And Lee, I think last time we rolled for skills, you forgot some. You forgot to roll for your hand-to-hand weapon skills.
Unbelievable.
It's been some time, I think, since you've rolled for those. So I think you have
Okay.
some that are checked down there to make sure you roll for those. So any checks you have on your sheet, You roll for that skill, and you have to fail the roll to increase it by 1d10. If you make the roll, just uncheck it.
Aha! I failed my listen roll. Oh wait. Yes, I failed my listen roll by 7.
Alright, I'm gonna do fist punch, which is at 50.
For
Only 1.
for Monday,
I'm doing hide at 10.
should I roll for the 2i?
Wait.
Okay.
What did I get?
And then we'll do
If
Bowie
you-
knife.
hey Tom, if you
Oh.
look at the chat pane over there, it'll kind of it'll show you what you rolled.
Okay. I failed it. So that
and I
means
forgot to mention too. If you're rolling from your sheet, if it shows a 1, it means you succeeded. If it shows a 0, it means you failed. And you can hover your mouse over the 1 or the 0 it'll show exactly what you rolled.
Whoops.
That's just the way they
Roll
designed the
that.
sheet for some reason.
Okay. All right. So if I made my hide roll, or I fail it, I should say. Now what? I roll. How much do I go up?
You get to roll a d10 and add it to your current skill percentage
Okay.
on your sheet.
Oh
Yes.
wow! I rolled an actual natural 1. I
Okay, so you roll a d10.
didn't make it, but what the fuck?
Yes, you increase by d10.
God damn!
Alright, 5. Not bad.
I did not get to increase either of my skills.
Hey, Alex, check OBS and make sure you're getting a signal both from your mic and from your audio, just to make sure it's working out.
Yep, I'm getting a signal from everything.
So yeah, Tom, when the dice start flying like crazy and stuff, you can just look at the chat to see what everybody rolled. Because sometimes the tabletop gets a little messy with handouts and dice.
I'm sorry. Where would I look to see those dice?
In the top right, click on chat, the little chat bubble icon.
Yep.
And it'll show who's rolling what in the
see.
text there.
Got it.
And like I said, if you roll from the sheet, if it shows that you rolled, if it says 1 in the little yellow box, it means you succeeded. And if it's a 0, it means you failed. You can hover over it to see what you rolled exactly.
Furthermore, as another interesting little aside, below the text box where you can type stuff in, there's a little as. You can actually set your character's name in there. Like it's a little menu, and you can set it to your name so that it's just easier to determine,
Yeah, like see, I can do this. I can go.
Yes, he can.
I, as the GM, can speak as anyone. Gurgle. All right, so is everybody done rolling for their skill checks?
Yep.
Hopefully some got some increases there.
Yeah, I got 2 increases, but one of them is by 1.
I missed a couple. I made a couple.
All right, cool. Now, nameless cults. Percy, no, not Percy. Edgar, Eusephus, and Jacob have all read Nameless Cults.
Yes.
Over the past several months, you were all able to read it, and one of the benefits of that was that when you were done reading it, you could take some extra time. I think about 2 weeks after that to learn a smattering of some of the languages that are in Von June's book. There's some pretty extensive writing in the book. It's a big fat book, okay? And some of the languages in there you're able to maybe get some skill percentages in. And I'm going to let each of you choose what you would like skill in. Your choices, you have 4 choices. Sumerian cuneiform, Egyptian hieroglyphics, a language called Nakal, which is the supposed language of Mu, the lost continent of Mu, similar to Mayan, the language itself. And the last one is Senzar, which which is purportedly the language of the Atlanteans. I believe I had a little short session with Kyle the other day. I believe for Eusephus he chose Senzar, the language of Atlanteans, and you got
I did.
21% in it or something like that.
Yes.
Somebody pick Moo.
I think I'm going to take Egyptian hieroglyphics.
What'd you want to do, Edgar?
Egyptian hieroglyphics?
Okay. And so you got Atlantean, you have hieroglyphics, and so there's 2 more. Is that right?
Yes, there's a Sumerian cuneiform,
Mhm.
Egyptian hieroglyphics, Nikal, the language of Mu, and Senzar, the language of the Atlanteans.
Is Van Helsing able to learn one of these as well?
Not
Negative.
yet. He's going to have to be reading the book.
Did you want to learn the language of the Nikal, Tom?
Yeah, I mean, I'll learn whatever I can as soon as I can, but I just started reading the book. I mean, I think I have a few months to go.
Hey, Tom, your
Okay.
voice sounds a little muffled to me tonight. Are you using a different mic than you were?
Negative. No, I'm not using anything different.
Okay. I can hear you fine. You just sound a little bit more muffled than you did before.
Okay, I'll do I'll learn the Sumerian cuneiform,
Okay.
and that'll give Van Helsing the opportunity to read the City of Mu.
Okay,
Yeah,
perfect.
and I can give you a little information too. The Nikal, the language of Mu, it's a hieroglyphic type writing form, most similar to the hieroglyphics of the Maya. And the Senzar is purportedly the ancient language of Atlantis used to scribe the text of the original Book of Zion, it says in Nameless Cults. It's a cuneiform script utilizing wedge-shaped characters. It's very similar to the still undeciphered Linear A cuneiform attributed to the Minoans. And of course, the Sumerian cuneiform is a different type. I think it's called Linear. I think technically it's Linear B or something like that.
Yep.
And it's just now. It was just actually recently discovered.
The Rosetta Stone.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I think 1924, I don't even think that it was even partially deciphered at that point. So, at least by mainstream science, anyway, mainstream archaeology. Okay.
We'll go to some archaeology conventions and blow some minds.
Yeah, really. You could almost make a living on it, you know.
Yeah.
So, what did Edgar take? Egyptian?
Yeah, I took Egyptian hieroglyphics.
Okay. Let's see how well you learned it. Give me an intelligence times 5 check.
Intelligence times 5.
Yeah, if you make it, you'll get more points in that skill than you would if you failed.
Alright.
But you'll still get some. Okay, roll a d10 plus 10. Ow. All right, Edgar, you have 11% Egyptian hieroglyphics.
Woo!
That's still good.
All right, Lee, you chose Sumerian?
Yeah, the Sumerian.
All right, same thing. Make an intelligence times 5 check. I believe it's an idea roll. You could just roll an idea roll.
Oh!
That's probably a win, I think.
What's my idea? 50.
Oh, fuck, man. You were so close.
Yeah, right on the edge.
1d10 plus 10, and that will be your percentile in cuneiform.
I'll have to study some more.
All right, 16.
What would he
Okay.
have rolled if he had made his idea?
If you make it, you get 1d10 plus 20,
Mm.
so you'll get an extra 10 points.
Out of curiosity, what is your percent to hit with like improvised weapons, like say a shovel?
Usually 25.
Okay, shovel.
Yeah, for improvised hand-to-hand weapons, it's usually 25.
How
I
much
believe.
damage would that be?
Is it a flat head or a spaded head? I guess it would matter.
I get might. I think that would do like 1d6 plus your damage bonus. I'm thinking.
Okay.
1d6 plus the satisfaction of hitting him with the shovel.
Yeah.
Priceless.
How many hit points does a good shovel have?
A large club, it'd do 1d8.
Oh.
I'd count it as like a large club. Yeah.
Cool.
So it'd be 1d8. Yeah, for sure.
How many hit points does a shovel have?
A shovel?
I mean, for reference, a shotgun has 12.
Right. 20.
Okay.
No, that's too much for a shovel. Make it 15. I think a large club is assuming like a freaking log or something. Or I guess like a baseball bat.
Cool. My shovel is French.
Your shovel is French?
Or Spanish or something. Yeah, look, it says it's damage in. I'm assuming that's French. Maybe
Yeah, that's right. I thought you were just fucking around.
So let's just take a minute here for Tom's benefit, since Dr. Van Helsing is going to be reading Nameless Cults. It takes you, and by the way, this is the Bridewell edition. It's an English translation of the original German edition from 1839. The Bridewell edition was published in London in 1845. And upon some research, you found out that there are some mistranslations and misinterpretations among scholars of this sort of cheap leather-bound octavo edition in the Bridewell edition. It's very cramped text filled with typographical errors. This is something you guys probably don't know, but have probably found out since then. At least 20 complete copies of the edition are known to exist. So it's a very rare book.
Of the original German version or of the English translation version?
Of the English translation version, yes. It's not even known if any copies of the original German edition exist.
When was it written originally?
1839. The Bridewell edition is from 1845, shortly thereafter.
Is there any knowledge of what happened to Bridewell himself?
Bridewell is the name of the publishing company that actually printed it. It's actually it's a printed leather-bound octavo edition.
Maybe someday
So it actually has set type in it, you know.
Actually, shoot, can we say that at some point during the months while reading it, Edgar got it into his head to ask to call up the publishing company and ask if they had any information about the original printing of the...
No, that's about all you've been able to find out about it.
Okay.
You've just learned that it's very rare and that it's generally... and one thing I'd like to mention here, guys, is you guys do have some contacts in Arkham, Massachusetts. Professor Farnsworth is there, if he hasn't gone back to London already. And you also have met, what's his name? I should know this. But this is where you can get this is where you get this kind of information.
Edgar has a contact in the psychiatric department of the Arkham.
Professor Henry Armitage.
Ah, yes.
Miskatonic University.
Edgar also has a contact in the psychological department, presumably the psychological department of the Arkham University, in that dude who researches hypnotism.
Yeah.
And is undergoing and is researching Edgar's special gift, and also went with him to the Indian Mounds.
Yeah. Is this special gift like going to turn into a Broadway play or something? The special gift.
You guys, as you guys know, John Farnsworth, and especially Henry Armitage, Professor Armitage at Tonic University. You don't know him personally. Actually, now that I think about it, Eusebius, you're the only one left who has actually met Henry Armitage. And he could be useful if you need any information on pretty much anything that's obscure, occult, mythos related. He may be willing to help you out. Eusebius, I don't know so much. He is very. He wanted you guys to keep the whole Williamsburg affair, Williamson Morgan affair, real hush hush. But let's just say that this is Professor Armitage is the one who gave you the information that you have about this Nameless Cults book that you guys possess.
I reckon
we should go up and visit this guy and see if we can't get any information about the Dark Child and possibly even the Hermetic Order too.
Farnsworth was on that plum farm with me. He's still in danger. We probably should be in touch with him anyways.
Well, we can do this actually real quick. Because I actually intended to do this at some point, but we'll just do it right now. And Tom, we'll get back to you here in a second about the Nameless Cults. Yes, actually. Eusebius, you write a letter to Professor Armitage. Say, about a week ago, this is before everything that happened the other night, asking him, about this Dark Child and if Professor Farnsworth has learned any more about it. And I'm going to show you something.
Please, not the ghoul from Halloween.
No. Here's what he sends you. He sends you a letter. And Armitage says that he has found some information in a copy of Colton. It is Armitage actually possesses an original copy of Nameless Cults.
Oh, really?
He says, within this book, I found some passages having to do with this Dark Child of which you speak. And here's what he found. It says, documented in several tomes, most notably on Sparkletchen Colton, the Dark Child is strongly associated with the cult of Shub-Niggurath, the black goat of the woods with 1,000 young. Her name is invoked only in curses associated with protection of sacred places against defilers, and it seems she cannot be summoned by other means. The Dark Child is supposedly only visible to those she has singled out for death.
Uh-oh.
So Armitage is able to make that connection for you, Eusebius. The Dark Child has something to do with the black goat of the woods. Makes sense,
Okay.
right?
Well, we were near the woods.
Were there black goats? What?
Oh, there was something terrible outside of the farmhouse. That's for sure.
Well, the medallions too, man. They're associated with the black
I must confess,
goat.
Gentlemen, when I almost feel compelled to keep one of those medallions out about me.
What?
Something about it comforts me. I need to have that. One of the. How many do we have?
4.
1, 2, 3, 4.
6.
You're gonna glue it to your.
Six medallions.
We're gonna glue it to our head like Stargate.
Well, I don't know if it's a wise thing to. I'm not sure if it's a good thing for you to have that on you. Actually, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 medallions.
I don't want to have the 6 medallions. I was just counting them out because there's 6.
Counting is fun. I know.
Something about having 6.
Yes.
And now that you find this out from Armitage, that the Dark Child is closely related to Shub-Niggurath, it lets you remember other things you have found out about this woodland goddess. In Nameless Cults, even the Bridewell edition, you find mention of the woodland goddess. In the Legends and Myths of Avalon, you find reference to the black goat of the woods with 1,000 young. And even in the Somerset tablets, by name, Shub-Niggurath. And in Nameless Cults, there are some images, notably this first one here. It looks like it's from an old woodcut. This one down here, of all these what appeared to be knights firing arrows at this horned
Yeah.
female
I guess,
fighter-looking creature. And note,
thing with,
you can also note that these medallions that you possess, the top part of there's a circular sort of. Here, let me turn that off. That's a little too menacing, right?
Yeah, I'm like ready for like, holy crap.
She's not attacking
this is just the
you
music
yet.
for reading the book.
She's not
Wait
attacking
till
us
it
yet.
attacks you.
So note, even the medallion, has some semblance of this woodland goddess or whatever you want to call her. And I believe this is a petroglyph that you guys found down in the Caves of Life. It's got this sort of tentacled goat silhouette looking creature with these other
tentacle creatures to the right.
Yeah, see,
Elk.
these look like the creatures we saw in the dream world.
But this looks like E.T. just like got in the wrong place,
Wait, is this an elder sign right here?
No, that's
Right there.
Yeah, that.
I don't know. It has an eye in it, doesn't it? Good catch,
Yep.
Tom.
Yep.
Very good catch. Nobody noticed that before. In this, of course, there's Edgar, Eusephus, and Jacob.
Oh, I see. So we are the gecko people.
Yeah. In this Coetlike, those gigantic statues you guys saw down in the jungle surrounding Bendal Daloom was very similar. Percy had actually mentioned that it looked very similar to the a stylized version of a Mayan goddess, fertility goddess. And of course, there are a lot of serpents and stuff like that. And then down here is just some other some eye candy.
Yes, it's
So,
delicious.
Tom, nameless cults. Van Helsing is able to skim the book. Now, the thing with skimming the book, you don't really get any advantages by skimming, except for learning what just generally the book is about, and what the book contains, as well as clues as to what sort of spells or incantations it may hold.
Okay.
And these guys have all learned these, learned about this book. But let me just go through real quick for your benefit, because you probably didn't hear when I was describing this book to them. I'm just going to go through it real quick here.
Okay.
The introduction has to do with something called the Narrative of the Elder World. And it's a very long, very kind of hard to read essay, which describes what's called the Cthulhu myth cycle, as described by Eban, Al-Azred, and others. Chapter 1 is a description of a cult somewhere in Germany that worships a being called Sayaga. Chapter 2 is about a fertility cult von Junts discovered in southern France, worshippers of the sign of the three-headed goat. This is the chapter where you guys figured out there was this call forth the woodland goddess spell. Also, command the trees was gotten from that chapter. Chapter 3 describes a rural, and this is something new actually that Eusephus just discovered, and I'll just put it out there. And chapter 3 describes a rural English pagan cult. And Alex, if you want to add this to the journal, Eusephus discovered this, and we'll say Van Helsing discovers it as well. There is something in this chapter. It appears to be a spell that's called "Call Forth the Horned Man."
Wonderful.
Chapter 4 tells of a secret cult of cannibals headquartered in the slums of Paris, and
That's
mentions
awesome.
the Comte d'Orléans' work on the subject. In this chapter, there's a spell called Contact Brother. Chapter 5 describes von Junts' travels to Asia and a meeting with the Chocho people in Indochina. Chapter 6 describes an insane Russian peasant living in Siberia who claims to worship, quote, a great god in the sky, and his castrated followers.
Oh,
Boo.
wearing like Velcro Nikes and shit.
You want to become a wizard?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Suddenly, wizardry doesn't seem that appealing.
Yeah.
Go back to the last part you read about the castration. Yeah, I'm gonna have to say no.
That's when they're talking about all the benefits of the club. They go by that part really quick.
Exactly.
There's no castration, and you get free drinks on Friday nights.
Even in Nameless Cults, Von Junst only kind of mentions it in passing. Chapter 7 tells of a mysterious stone monastery high in the Tibetan Himalayas, inhabited by priests worshiping, quote, spirits of the air. And this is the chapter that Jacob learned the Command Airy Travelers spell from. Chapter 8 describes a Dagon cult in the Eastern Mediterranean. Von Junst claims that cults worshiping the blasphemous god are found around the world. Chapter 9 describes a secret cult of the dead in southern Spain. Chapter 10, a small cult in Transylvania that worships a terrible monster living in a stinking pit. This is the chapter containing the call forth of that which should not be spell. Chapter 11 relates legends of an ancient and supposedly extinct cult in the small Hungarian village of Stregwakavar that worshipped a blasphemous god appearing atop an ancient stone monolith. Chapter 12 describes an intensely secretive cult called the Brothers of the Yellow Sign. They are devoted to uncovering and disrupting the plans of what they call the Space Devils. Chapter 13 tells of a secretive cult headquartered in Transylvania, of all places, in a Transylvania castle, even, called the Brotherhood of the Beast. They await the time when the evil Egyptian pharaoh, Nephron-Ka, returns to lead mankind. Chapter 14 describes a secretive worldwide cult dedicated to keeping captive an unknown monster. Very mysterious. And chapters 15 through 20, there are sections dealing with what you can bestly associate with called keys, with a similar set of phrasings, codes, and prayers found in common among these cults. And chapters 15 through 20 are some of the most confusing, fragmented, typographical error-strewn part of the book. So you have skimmed the book. I would like you to roll a 1d8, Tom.
Ooh,
I hope that's good.
Me too.
Oh,
nice.
God.
Just
You
out of
nailed it.
curiosity, which chapter did we get the information about the Silver Twilight, the Knights of the Silver Twilight? The little blurb.
That was just a reference. Yeah, that was just a reference in one of the chapters.
Which one? Could it have been the one about a secret worldwide group dedicated to containing a monster?
It's actually mentioned in one of it's chapter 17 in the section dealing with keys and phrasings and codes and prayers.
Darn.
Remember that I actually gave you I gave you like a little blurb from it.
Yeah.
So Tom, you're going to make me do this to you, huh? You lose 8 sanity points.
Ooh.
After skimming the book.
Okay.
I need you to roll your idea. Try to fail
70.
it. Try to fail it so you don't fully realize exactly what you have in your hands here.
I made it.
He made it.
Oh, you recognize everything, you dumb bastard.
What?
Suddenly you realize the leather isn't leather.
Holy shit! This all makes sense. No!
Uh-oh. Yeah, idea 70. I make it. Okay.
You are one smart
roll a d10 for me. This could be interesting.
Oh, boy.
You know, because this is taking place over 96 hours, over a few days. A few days have passed since you've met with Jacob and stuff, so.
7.
Yeah, hey, welcome to Crown and Shield Manor. Let's scramble your brains.
Yeah. Well, let me get the calendar here.
Brains.
Okay. All right. Hold tight, Tom. I'm gonna keep you on the edge of your seat for a moment.
By this time, we keep a spare straitjacket just around.
So when I move my,
it's kind of
and
funny
some
actually.
It's some Haldol and some serious Thorazine. I mean, we just have it there. It's in the lounge in the liquor cabinet. It's got tucked in.
Shall I fetch the great jacket and Haldon, my lord?
Okay. So time wise, here's where we stand time wise. Last session, the Saturday morning and the Saturday afternoon, the Saturday evening that you guys spent investigating these graveyards and winding up at Margie's Tea House and the whole Barry Pollard affair took place on June 14th. It was a Saturday. Eusephus, that night is when everything befell you. So let's say that 1, 2, 3, 4 days have passed. So now it's June 18th. Okay. And what we're doing here preliminary and at the beginning of the session, we're kind of going through what's happened in these 4 days. So first and foremost, we should note that within those 4 days, Dr. Van Helsing skims nameless cults, spends quite a bit of time at the Crown and Shield Manor Monday, Tuesday, and into Wednesday. And Wednesday afternoon, Jacob, Beauregard says that he received a call from Boston Hospital, the psychiatric ward, and they have Dr. Van Helsing there.
Oh, shit.
The police found him rummaging around in some trash cans in some alley, and when he was approached, he pulled a knife on the police.
Yes.
Okay. Well,
I instantly like Dr. Van Helsing.
Yeah, he's been evaluated. He was sedated, and he's after a few hours of being in the hospital, being sedated and being talked to, he's kind of come out of his thing, and he seems to have some mild amnesia. He can't seem to remember what's happened the last few days. But he did request that, we call, you, Mr. Chronoshield, if you would like to come and pick him up, you're more than welcome to. He seems
absolutely.
Lucid. He seems to be fine now.
Do I gain any Cthulhu mythos for my reading of the defied book?
You do. Upon your first bout of insanity with a mythos-related subject or creature, you get 5.
Oh, yeah.
Kyle, you had an episode of madness the other night. You get 1.
I get 1 sanity back?
No, you get 1 added to your Cthulhu mythos.
Oh, 1 Cthulhu mythos. Okay.
So there is some benefit to your bouts of madness having to do with the mythos. You do gain some glimpses of
oh, yay.
Was that 8? Were those 8 sanity points permanently lost?
Pretty much, dude. Yeah. I mean, there's only a couple ways you can get sanity points back.
No, I know.
I mean, by surviving and
killing something horrible.
Yeah, and getting through, in game terms, getting through a whole scenario. Usually at the end of the scenario, depending on what happened, you'll get some sanity awarded to you. You can also seek treatment, whether through drugs, electrotherapy, psychoanalysis, things like that.
Wow.
But usually you only want to do that if you are indefinitely insane and you've acquired some kind of mania or phobia. But this was just basically a bout of madness for you that only lasted for a short time.
Okay.
So when Jacob arrives at the hospital, you're beginning to remember. The only thing you remember is just spending, some time, and you remember reading some of these passages in this nameless cult book, and you started kind of putting things together, like the story that Jacob and the others told you about the dreamlands and stuff. You saw some mention of that in the nameless cults, and it just kind of starts to dawn on you as you're skimming this book, like this stuff is real. At first you thought that maybe there must be some rational explanation. I mean, you're a scientist, right? So you're thinking there must be some rational explanation for this. But once you start reading this book, you begin to realize, like, this stuff is real, and And it always kind of comes back to you when Jacob was telling you, this is deadly serious, Dr. Van Helsing. Deadly serious, he told you. But there are some passages in this book, and it just kind of blows your mind. You remember reading some of these passages like, but the dead may always be summoned, and many times are willing to rise, but some are stubborn and desire to remain where they are and do not rise, save for the efforts of the priest who has power, as Shub-Niggurath, both in her place and in the other. And the dead must be called in the 4 directions and in the 4 spaces, not knowing where it is. The priest must needs take a special care that he call everywhere, for the spirit may be in flight. And it goes on and on and on. And it talks about altars and blood sacrifice and certain rituals and things that require beating human hearts and all this kind of crazy shit. And you just kind of lose it for a while there, and you wind up in an alley digging a trash can for some reason. And
just the fact that there is in fact a cannibalistic cult in modern Paris is in of itself mind-blowing.
So let's figure out how long it's going to take Van Helsing to read this book real quick here. Being the scholarly type, it'll probably take him a little less time than the others. It is a base of 48 weeks. It's going to take a while, dude. Either
I
way.
don't understand.
So, okay, what is your look at your character sheet, because I'm going to need some information from you. What is your intelligence?
Let's see here. Intelligence 14.
Okay, and your education?
Education 17.
Okay. And you've got the language, and your Cthulhu mythos is 5, right?
Correct.
And do you have occult skill? What's your occult skill at?
15.
Okay. And your library use?
65.
Okay, so 4, 7, 8. 8%. Okay, instead of taking, 48 weeks to study, it's going to take you 42 weeks to study.
Okay.
So we're looking at what? Quite some time.
Do I write that down here? I'm looking for a spot. Where can I write that? There.
There's a space on your sheet for
Mythos Tomes Red or something?
Red. Just put Nameless Cults Bridewell Edition. 40, what did I tell you? 42 weeks.
42, yeah.
And there may come a time if we have some downtime. I don't know how soon we're going to have downtime. There's a thing you can do called feverish study, where you kind of just tax yourself and really, plow into the book, and that will reduce the time as well. But you need, that we're talking 12 hours a day, studying reading this book. So
what's today's date? I started on when?
Yeah, today's June. It's gonna be June 18th, 1924.
Okay.
So it's going to be a good 48 weeks. How many months is that? Like, roughly?
It's not a year.
I mean, 50, there's what, 52 weeks in a year?
So it's like
it's
10
like
months.
around 10 and a half months, yeah.
10
months, round down.
Take you. But again, you'll probably, if you survive, you'll have some downtime. that you may be able to crunch into this book and get it done. And then you'll have a choice to learn some spells from it if you like.
Okay.
There are also some other books available too after that. So, all right, we took care of Nameless Cults. So now, Eusephus's story. I don't know if any of you had a chance to watch or listen to his story, but Eusephus has documented what happened to him and Percy in England regarding how they came across this whole dark child incident and met Professor Farnsworth and everything. And he shares that with you guys. In Eusephus, you gain the +1 Cthulhu Mythos. There is one thing. Well, let me just tell you basically what happened. Or Kyle, do you want to tell him what happened? Just like, I mean, you don't need to tell him the story about England, but what happened to you that night.
Yeah, so Eusephus was making his statement, writing it down, and passes out at the table. It just kind of flows from, I'm writing my statement, and then I kind of find myself back on Folly Farms with a crow cawing in the distance, and the dark child appears beside me, and I go through a range of things. I go through a sequence where I'm tied to an altar, and there's something like trying to eat the entire altar with me on top of it. I go through the burning of Percy Fawcett's body in British Honduras, and him rising off of the pyre, accusatorially, and the dark child's like, he loved you, why did you kill him?
Yeah, why did you let him die?
Yep.
He has just this horrendous nightmare. Yeah, he goes out into the forest. The dark child says there, and he's compelled to go out into this forest in his dream, and he sees this pyre, this funeral pyre, burning out there, and he sees Percy's body lying on it, just like he remembers from the jungle. And the child suddenly appears there, and he's like, why, he didn't have to die, Eusephus. Why did you let him die? And then Percy gets up off of the thing, turns his head at Eusephus, and starts walking towards him, pointing at him, accusing him, basically. It's like, he's groaning at him, why did you let me die? Anyway, go on. And then you woke up, remember, in the study.
Yeah, I woke up in the study, and I heard Beauregard in the kitchen, I believe, sounding like he was getting murdered practically.
Yeah, you heard the phone ringing, and then you heard the kitchen door, which goes outside out to the backyard, open and then slam shut, and then Beauregard started screaming.
Oh, and not to mention, like, the Pinkerton boys nobody's around, so it's just me and Beauregard in the house. So the next sequence where I kind of got a little lost, and I was trying to remember, like, once I heard Beauregard. Yeah, okay.
So here's Beauregard scream, and at this point, Eusephus, in game terms, is temporarily insane. He's having a bout of madness. He's suffering from extreme paranoia. He can't even move from fright. He hears the scream. He stands up, knocks the chair down behind him, and he's just looking at the doorway out into the hall leading to the kitchen. And the dark child comes walking in and stands in the doorway and says, the time has come for you to pay the price, Eusephus. And then she casts Mind Blast on him, basically. And then sends him to this other dream state where she's just a normal little girl, like, come with me, Eusephus. I'm going to show you a secret place in the forest. And Eusephus is all like, okay, yeah, let's go. So she takes him out, and there's this stone altar sitting in this clearing in the forest. And she's like, why don't you lay down I'm sure you're tired from the long journey through the forest. So Eusephus lies down on this stone altar, and then these tentacles start coming up out of the ground, and then he sees these, at first he thinks they're stones or stalagmites or something, but he realizes soon that they're teeth coming up out of the ground and begin biting into him, and he starts screaming, and there's blood everywhere. And then he wakes up again in the study, after being mind blasted. I think he lost 10 sanity points or something.
I lost 10 sanity points, and then what happened next is, what anybody would do.
He lost control.
Is run straight out of the door into moving traffic.
Yeah, he bolts, man. He runs out into the hallway, looks at the kitchen, there's nothing there, looks to the right, and there's the front door of the Crown and Shield Manor, bolts out the front door into the street and just starts running down the street. He sees fucking tree creatures all over the fucking place behind these houses, and he thinks like the Dark Child's like behind him, and he's just running and running and running. He runs right out into Broadway and gets hit by luckily for Eusephus, he had one chance. I gave him a dodge roll.
And I made it by one.
Made it by point. 1.
1 point. You would not be talking to Eusephus tonight.
No. So in effect, by making that dodge roll, the truck just clipped him, and just broke his leg basically. But I just would have taken, I think, 46 damage by getting hit head on by that truck, which he probably wouldn't have survived.
Wow.
So he wound up in the hospital.
Boston's, customary, goodwill. Like, hey, why'd you get in front of my truck?
Yeah, the guy gets out of the truck. He's like, hey, buddy, what the hell's wrong with? Oh, are you okay? So he got taken to the hospital, got treated. At 3 o'clock in the morning, he wound up coming back to Crown and Shield Manor. Found Beauregard in the upstairs hallway, passed out, cold. Snapped him out of it. Beauregard said that he saw the girl. He said that there was this little girl in the kitchen. There was something wrong with her eyes. And I saw these horrible things. And it was just terrible. And he just breaks down, and Eusephus is calming him down. He's like, here, have some milk and brandy. It makes him get all drunk and shit. And Eusephus tells him the story of the Dark Child that night. Notably, Jacob, when you hear about this, during that story, Beauregard told Eusephus that the reason why the Pinkerton guys weren't there, that about 11:30 p.m. that night, Jacob called here at the house and said to send the Pinkerton guys to the police station, that something had happened. And of course, Jacob, you never made that call. So Beauregard sent the 2 Pinkerton guys that were at the house to the police station. Apparently, and subsequently, you would have found out from the Pinkerton guys, like, we got to the police station, boss, and you weren't there. I mean, what the hell's going on? But Beauregard's sure that it was you that called. So
that has serious implications right there, man. That has dire implications.
Yeah, well, the Dark Child's not something to fool around with. I mean, when she's got her mark, it's like, and I told Kyle, with the studies and stuff that you guys have done, this Dark Child sticks around for the week before the summer solstice. And I believe the summer solstice is Saturday, the 21st. It's the 18th now. So he's got a few more days to stay alive before the summer solstice, which is when, the Dark Child will, you'll get a bit of a reprieve, at least maybe until next year.
So we know,
in the thick of it.
Yeah, we know the dispel Dark Child, right?
Yes, it is. Yeah, it's a banishment type warding spell. And here's what you know of it, and just to clarify for it, because I think it's fair to let you guys know. There's a pretty small chance of it actually working. If you are in the presence of the Dark Child, or if she is nearby, and you do this incantation, it takes 10 combat rounds to complete, for one thing. And there's a pretty small chance of it actually even working. So there you go.
Okay. So then I think the question is, what other than that particular approach, are there any other effective means we have against this creature? And honestly, as I'm thinking about the spells we have and stuff, I'm a little bit at a loss.
Yeah.
Well, we have the actual.
Go ahead.
But we also, when I was perusing the Nameless Cults book, where is it? The information about the call forth the horned man. Sean, I couldn't tell if I was saying like because I had kind of put that together, there might be something there to put her back in the box, or was that just another thing I learned?
It was something that you just happened upon as you were trying to find some way to help you against this dark child, and you just happened upon that, something that apparently everybody else had missed in this particular chapter of the book. Because again, the book is very fragmented. There's a lot of typographical errors. It's hard to read, etc., etc.
Of course, the another totally insane angle we could play is we could actually go to the Hermetic Order and be like, "Hey, we're desperate. We've got this problem. We're practitioners. We're practitioners of the occult as well."
There's two insane angles that we can take. We can either do that, or if you really want to go on with this, with full-on war with the Silver Twilight, we could command airy travelers to go steal the Ibn Ghazi powder from them, because we're relatively sure that they have it, right? They had all the other stuff for all of the Elder Sign spell, but they just didn't give us the Ibn Ghazi. So we can ask an airy traveler to find us some dust of Ibn Ghazi.
Here's another hint.
Those are two completely insane, and who knows if they'll work.
We were talking about the Elder Sign earlier, and you guys know that this Elder Sign is supposedly only effective against what are called the Great Old Ones and the Outer Gods. And I'll just assume from your studies and from having the book, you know that Shub-Niggurath is an outer god. And if the Dark Child is related to Shub-Niggurath, the Elder Sign may in some way protect you from the Dark Child in certain situations, or you know how it is. I mean, it's
in fact, Eusebius would know. Well, no, it's not hit and miss, because in fact we do know that the Elder Sign works against the Dark Child.
How much sanity does it cost? What's the max sanity and power you have to burn?
2 power or 10 sanity in the oil.
The spell activates a previously drawn Elder Sign. Each active Elder Sign takes a sacrifice of 2 power to create, but costs no sanity points.
2 permanent power.
Yes.
Without the oil.
And I'll tell you guys too, mechanically, so you know for the future, there is a way to gain power in the game. It's rare, but you can.
Well, the spell
is by casting a spell, and if that spell requires a resistance check, like a magic points versus magic points, or a power versus power type thing, like a summon spell, you're using your magic points against, the magic points of the being. There is what you do, I think you take 21 minus your current power times 5, I think, something like that. So if you have a power of 12, or say 11, just to make it easy, that'd be 10. You'd have a 50% chance of increasing your power by 1d3. So you can gain power by casting spells. And there are other ways. There are certain spells that allow you to gain power or drain power from others.
We don't have any of those spells though that we know of.
It's a very rare thing to be able to. And of course, when you cast these spells, you're usually taking sanity hits, and there are unanticipated consequences, so it can be dangerous.
Reason to join the Silver Twilight Lodge so that we can get the information and spells that they have.
Okay, well, let's say we made this Elder Sign. I thought I had to go like on a door or a portal or something. How is this Dark Child coming to us? If she's coming to us in our dreams, where are you going to stick the sign? Where are you going to put it?
Well, the portable option, as far as like putting it on a metal plate or something you could actually carry with you.
Yeah, but how does that stop the Dark Child? What is she coming through? What portal? What door?
Well, I think if she were to like be attacking, let's say she were to come after Kyle or Beauregard, I think if they had in their possession an Elder Sign, it probably would keep her away.
Not only that,
your best guess is that she does have a physical form. You don't know for sure. Your best guess is she does have a physical form, and you would imagine from what you guys know that these dreams and these attacks are based on magic, or she's using magic against Eusephus is what she's doing.
Yeah. So if she does, if that's the conclusion, if she does have a physical form, we should be able to harm her.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Then she's walking around.
So that's another option. I mean, some type of spell plus physical attack against this thing.
Yeah, that's basically what happened last time. So we were holed up in the cottage. Percy was, saying the sing-song chant, and Eusephus was spraying the thing down with the Chicago typewriter.
Yeah, Tommy gun.
Yeah, so that seemed to work. But we also had the cottage, which had an elder sign or two on it that were actually effective.
Yeah, it seemed to kind of keep the creature somewhat at bay.
We had an elder sign in the center of the room, and we had one on the doorway itself, and that made it so that the creature could only attack the house, and rather than actually enter the house and attack us. So Eusephus stood in the doorway with the Chicago typewriter and just started shooting the creature that was way out in the woods, along with I think somebody else was shooting with you as well. While
I also used harsh language against it.
While I was casting yet another elder sign on, I think, like a piece of paper or something. I think I was casting another elder sign.
No. Percy was reading the Banished Dark Child.
Oh, I was reading Banished Dark Child, right?
Which you completed.
Yeah, and it worked, and it sent her away.
Yeah, it was a long shot, but it actually worked. But yeah, I mean, Eusephus, I don't know if you remember, like, when you fire automatic weapons, you roll to see how many bullets hit. So he's firing a 20 round burst, and he was rolling like 19 bullets hit. So he hit this thing at least like 36 times. It was like 36 D10 plus 360 damage or something like that.
And this was only one gigantic.
It was still alive.
Big chunk of damage. Yeah, it was. The thing is stout.
One of its probably many tentacles outside. We only saw the one.
So with that said, just you guys don't have any fucking chance. Let's move on, shall we?
Sorry, I'm just foundation rule, isn't it? You guys don't have a fucking chance.
Yeah. So you think that she does have some physical form. You think that the elder signs may be somewhat effective under certain circumstances against her. And of course, since we're talking about Folly Farm, apparently she has the ability to call the trees. That's something to be very careful of.
What do you mean?
Well, that's where the control the trees spells could come in. Into very
I think that she's used
I'm just
that
alluding to
because of her connection with the goat, the she-goat Shub-Niggurath,
the woodland goddess.
Yeah, the woodland goddess. I think the control the trees is definitely.
I've been under the presumption that she was
woodland.
Shub-Niggurath.
I think she is the woodland. I think she is.
She's an avatar. She's an avatar. She's not.
I think if you summon the because that's what them fellers were doing out there at that Folly Farm. I think they called forth the woodland goddess, and the woodland goddess just happens to be the Dark Child.
So I would consider the Dark Child more like a messenger or an avatar of Shub-Niggurath.
But the thing out in the woods, I thought it was too big to be one of the creatures like we saw in the Dream Worlds, one of the Dark Yog, or whatever you want to call it.
Well, there is another clue here too, and I'll show you guys again. This is something that Eusephus and Percy found at the British Museum Library in an old book in the occult regarding the Dark Child. It says, together with the Black Mother and the Night Hag, the Dark Child is part of English occult lore, being one of three aspects of the vengeful side of the Earth Goddess. No documentary evidence of her exists before the Viking invasions of the 9th century. It's entirely likely that her aspect is a later corruption of the Norns, the three goddesses responsible for weaving a man's destiny at his birth. All accounts of the Dark Child describe her as a dark complexion. In witchcraft, she is a spirit of vengeance. Walks abroad in the week before the midsummer solstice to punish those who have violated sacred sites or broken oaths of secrecy.
Violators.
Oaths of secrecy.
The dark child is supposedly only visible to those she has singled out for death, and references to her can be found in Malleus Maleficarum, the witch cult in Western Europe, and Sassusimus Triumphatus, whatever the fuck those are, books, apparently.
Okay, you heard that oath of secrecy. If we join that and go to the wizard level and learn all that stuff, and we don't keep it secret, she's coming to hunt you down.
Well, Tom, let me point something out. Here's what Farnsworth thought, because this happened to him after he found these tablets in Somerset County, down in the Severn Valley. He found these tablets and he started trying to translate them, and that's when this dark child came and started killing killed his assistants,
his proteges.
So Farnsworth was of the, he thought that it had something to do with him violating this sacred site and taking these tablets, which you guys now possess.
And we've already broken an oath of secrecy. We already promised that we wouldn't tell anybody about the secret orders of the Silver Twilight Lodge, but we told
me.
But it's the tablets that are the draw.
Right. I'll tell you guys that straight up. It has all to do with these tablets, and when Farnsworth found them, because that's when it started happening. So she came after the people who found these tablets first. Now,
what did we do with those again?
It actually, if you guys remember, it crossed Percy's minds to destroy the tablets there at Folly Farm. It was like a passing idea or whatever, and somebody, I think Yusuf talked him down, or somebody talked him down.
Have you guys shown me these tablets yet?
I don't know what happened to those.
We've got them.
You have them
in the house.
How about in the safe? They're in the safe. How about putting the tablets in the safe and slapping an elder sign on the safe?
Hey.
Yeah, but she'll still be coming after him.
Well,
Somerset
she
tablets.
get them.
Author unknown, date unknown, possibly of Phoenician origin. Discovered and partially translated by Professor John Farnsworth of the British Museum. These tablets contain incantations and songs related to what is called the Dark Child, a malevolent spirit that appears to cause its chosen subject to go mad through dreams and hallucinations. The tablets were further translated by Colonel Percy Fawcett, an English explorer, and Eusebius Braun, an American war veteran and smuggler. The tablet contains rituals that allow for banishment of the Dark Child, etc., etc. You guys possess these tablets. They are in Jacob's safe.
Contain rituals that allow for banishment of the Dark Child, which is what you guys did, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, but it seems to only work for a year.
Yep.
So, Sean, have we made copies of these tablets? How many tablets are there exactly? We do have copies of them.
Yes, there are 4 tablets. Okay. And you guys have translated them. You have English translations of them.
Yeah,
I say we break the tablets.
One quick question though. In the previous information that was up on the screen, there were 3 mentions of there were 3 books that were mentioned that had information about the Dark Child.
Yeah.
The witch cults of Northern Europe, the Malefactum, whatever, the Witch's Hammer, and then there was another one, right?
Yeah, I'll put it up here under books. Dark Child Mythos version. This is information that was given to you by Armitage. Oh wait, I'm sorry. It's actually the occult version that they found in some occult books.
Yeah, there's like 3 books mentioned. I'm just wondering, have we looked at those 3 books to see if there's other details about the Dark Child in those books?
Percy and Eutychus did, but they couldn't find any information about him. Malleus Maleficarum is, a pretty well-known book. Witch Cult in Western Europe, they couldn't find any information on that. And this other, it appears to be Roman or Latin or something.
Well, you know who would have those?
Miskatonic.
Armitage himself.
Yeah.
Just something to think about.
Well, if there's not going to be a loss of knowledge with the tablets if we break them because we already have copies of them. We should try that.
Yeah, I'd say absolutely.
Well,
So I think we put it to a vote, gentlemen.
All right, I'll be right back.
Yeah,
do we have them
definitely. Destroy
100% translated?
destroy the tablets as long as we have the information off them.
Okay, yeah.
I think we should
Yep.
destroy them.
I agree. Here, well, Sean stepped away for a second. I am too, but I'll be right back.
All right, so
Oh, damn, he's back already. He was too fast.
do we have a complete translation of the Somerset tablets?
Yes.
Okay.
Do we have
yeah.
And to note, at least for Tom, I don't know, Tom, you read that. That's actually where they learned the Elder Sign spell from.
Yeah, I can see that.
Set tablets.
Yeah. Well, if we have all that, if we have all that information, man, we definitely should destroy those.
Yeah,
Edgar,
to break it.
Can we take pictures
let's
of them
get
as
your
well?
let's get your shovel in here.
Wait,
We got some breaking to do with it.
Can we take some pictures of these tablets? Do we have a camera?
You have pictures of them already, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, dude,
They go out with our Christmas cards each year.
I should stick an Elder Sign on my shovel.
And it does say that Elder Sign. It implies that would work against her for sure. That's because it says how you could banish her as well as have the Elder Sign. So that was definitely going to work against her.
Yeah. So let's
we need to get.
let's destroy the tablets and then let's consider making an Elder Sign somewhere in the house or on a piece of metal that Kyle could carry or keep around him and.
Or me and me and Beauregard can hold up.
We got to give up 2 PowerPoints though.
I think everybody should. I think everybody should hold up.
Only Yusuf and Edgar know, don't it? Right? Is that the case? We only know we're the only 2 that have studied and know the Elder Sign spells, or does everybody know all of the spells?
No, not everybody knows all the spells.
I tried to keep track of that. According to my notes here under Elder Sign, investigators who have learned this spell, Eustace Braun has learned the normal version, and Edgar Casey has learned the oil version.
Okay.
I think actually Edgar since then has learned the normal version as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then it's only us 2, but we should get the oil, I think. In some
You do
way,
have the
shape,
translations
or form.
though. It'd be.
I would say
would be able to learn them from the translations.
So if we know all this, man, we definitely take the tablets out of the safe and destroy them.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Where and how are you doing that?
We take them out into the beautiful light of day.
Yep.
The sun is high. We walk out to the backyard.
I would
sit
say
them down on a
with the vengeful Edgar Casey patented shovel.
With 15 hit points.
Yep.
Exactly. Get it, boy.
Break them.
All right.
I have a sledgehammer just in case the shovel can't get the job done.
Right, so you lay the tablets out on the lawn.
Yes.
Right? The birds are chirping. Sun is high. And you start smashing the tablets.
Yes.
And they break pretty easily with the shovel. These dark clouds suddenly form overhead.
Uh-oh.
And the breeze and the birds come still. And Edgar, right, you've taken several swings at this. You kind of stop for a second, and all of you are kind of looking up, right?
I glance up at the dark clouds and I just go at it even faster. Man.
Yeah, go. I was gonna say, get going. Oh, the horror is back.
All of you begin hearing these whispering sounds coming from all around you as Edgar continues to smash these tablets.
Lock and load, bitch.
I pull out my 45, man.
And you hear this kind of tittering laughter.
Screw it. I'm doing it right now. I'm dropping down after I break these tablets and I'm going to start inscribing the Elder Sign on the shovel.
Yeah, we probably should have made the Elder Sign first. Shit.
Hindsight is 20/20, but we have time. I'm doing it.
The tablets are smashed into just a gajillion pieces. The whispers begin to subside, and the sun breaks out from behind a cloud, and the birds begin chirping again.
Take that, bitch. Yeah.
I'm with Edgar. Let's see. how many tablets were there? There were 1, 2, 3, 4 tablets, and
Were.
all right,
Yeah.
they were, and there was one dark child, and probably a couple of birds. All right.
Everything seems pretty back to normal, and the Somerset tablets are shattered.
Should I continue with inscribing the elder sign onto the shovel?
I think it's a right good idea, and I think I'll do another one too. I'll put one in stone or something that we can carry with us.
All right.
A piece of the tablet.
Put it in like
not the tablet.
Hey Kyle, put it like on
Jesus
a
Christ, no.
I just
put it on like a
Hey, here's a piece of stone right here.
There's one right here. It's like the dark child's like, what? You are outrageous, sir.
I'd put it like on a piece of metal, Kyle, like a piece of steel or bronze or stainless steel, something like that. You carry around like as a plate that you could affix to something. It might be.
Well, it's got to be something that we can bring with us. Yeah.
I'd like to get like a piece of like metal pipe, like solid metal bar, like bend it into one. You know what I'm saying? So it'd be like I don't know, like a brand, like a brand you would stick out of the side of a cow and burn it and slime it. Something like that.
You can burn it into the witch's forehead.
Exactly.
Well, see, the thing is, we know for a fact that just writing the symbol doesn't do anything. It's the magic of the chant.
No, I know, but just to have it, just to have it with me, though, that way, as soon as we have to cast it, we'll have it already pre-made.
Right.
What if we have it on something that's like the equivalent of like a steel shield or something? That way you could carry it with you, like like on your arm, like
put it on a trash can.
And then if you needed to, you could throw a trash can lid. You could throw it down on the ground in front of a door or something if you needed to. Just leave it there. There.
Too.
Well, I think what you're talking about again is like a steel plate, like a steel square with the emblem in the center, and sure, you could put straps on it, have it on so you could carry it.
Yeah, put there's some way to easily carry the thing and then drop it if you needed to.
Well, that's why I'm putting it on my shovel.
Exactly.
Well, being able to affix it somewhere would be important. So being able to actually stick it somewhere or set it somewhere. So either a piece of stone or square piece of stone or a square piece of metal. I think is the.
I like metal because
I just noticed something too that I should point out to you guys in the Somerset tablets, and for Tom and Lee, especially for Jacob and Nicholas, it says Fawcett and Braun's translations require 2d6 weeks of study to fully comprehend in order to learn the spells contained. So, it doesn't take you that long if Jacob and Nicholas would like to. Dark Child and Elder Sign, or Elder Sign. It only takes 2d6 weeks. If you guys want to start doing that.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, sure. Yeah, those are.
Just mark it on. Right. Each of you roll 2d6 to see how many weeks it takes. Just straight up, so lower the better.
Roll low, boys.
And then just mark on your character sheet, Somerset tablets. X number of weeks.
8 weeks.
Yep, 6.
It occurs to me that if I lower my power by 2, I will have 9 magic points. So if I ever cast an Elder Sign in the future using the oil, I will go unconscious immediately.
No. Not feasible.
So
yeah,
say
you can
that
just
again?
mark on your character sheet Somerset tablets and just put Elder Sign / Banished Dark Child, and you'll be able to learn those spells in that number of weeks.
Not to
What he's saying
mention
is
my
to use to use the oil version of the spell, you have to spend 9 magic points to use it. And what Alex is saying is if Edgar actually cast the regular version of Elder Sign and sacrificed 2 power, it would take him down to 9 magic points. When you reach 0 magic points, you go unconscious. So if he were to, even the oil version of the spell, he would cast it and then go unconscious. So I guess he could still do it using the 9 magic points. And by the way, you gain all of your magic points back in 24 hours. You gain 1/4 of them back every 6 hours, but they come back pretty quick.
So if I use 2 power, I'm gonna do it anyway. Eustaphus, it's.
I don't know, man. That's a pretty big hit.
Yeah, but dying is a bigger hit.
Well, I think it's possible that by destroying these tablets, we may have remedied the situation. At least in regards to the Dark Child.
Yeah, note that this is your luck and your maximum, well, not your maximum sanity, but your the amount of sanity that you can get back from treatment. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't affect your current sanity points, but will affect the amount of sanity that
Do we
you
get
get back from getting treatment.
Do we get any sanity back for destroying the tablets?
Nope. You don't really kind of know the effect of it yet, do you? You don't even know if it worked.
I'd say that's a pretty good sign.
I did note on there, it does now say destroyed. So now we know they're destroyed.
Maybe I should.
Pretty good sign, though, to have the darkening sky and the whispers and then to have them dissipate. I mean, I thought that was a pretty decent indication.
That's a good omen. I think it's a bad omen.
I think it's good.
Well, either way, Jacob.
Yeah.
Brother Jacob, could you get like a medieval shield or something where I could cast this here elder sign on it?
Sure. We probably have one around the manor. Don't we have a suit of armor around here somewhere? I think on the 2nd or 3rd floor there's,
The one with the outrageously large codpiece? Yes, that one.
Put it on a long sword.
It's probably, I probably have an example of English and German and, Austrian armor.
It's got the Kronenshield family crest on it.
Yeah, there we go. Well, there you go. Here, this is a fine shield.
All right, so stand back, boys. Get ready for the blue light. And I'll do it on the shield, man.
Okay.
Cool.
You do.
So that takes my power from 13 to 11.
Okay.
Yep. Well,
and then also
11.
It'll automatically decrease your luck score and your
max sanity.
What is it?
Max sanity. It's called a stable sanity.
The stable sanity goes down 2 points.
No, it goes down 10 points.
It's a multiple of 5. So
okay, so it goes down 10 points.
Your luck's going down 10, and your stable sanity is going down 10. And what stable sanity is, it's just the maximum amount of sanity that you can get up to through treatment. If you ever go indefinitely insane, you can go above. You can get as much sanity as you want, as long as it doesn't go above your maximum sanity points, which takes your Cthulhu Mythos skill into consideration. Your characteristics and roles, it shows what your maximum sanity points are. That's what you're limited to. Your stable sanity points only shows what you're limited to as far as treatment if you go indefinitely insane.
Well, I think the macros adjusted once I took my power down. It adjusted all that stuff.
Yeah.
Which was pretty cool. I was like, oh wait, Sean's already changing my sheep. But it's the magic of computation.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
okay, so here's where we stand. You guys have destroyed the Somerset tablets and saw the sky darken, and apparently the Dark Child was whispering things at you. But everything seems back to normal now. Eustaphus has a pretty hefty limp. Any kind of physical skills that require use of your legs will be at half. And so it's only going to be dodge, swim, jump. I think only those 3 things would actually be affected by that. Your move characteristic might be reduced slightly. I don't know if it'll come into play. But for about the next week, you're a little slow, okay? So, of note, Jacob never made that phone call to get the Pinkertons to the police station. Percy is due to be initiated as a keeper of the Silver Gate.
Edgar.
Tomorrow night, or Edgar, I keep saying Percy. Edgar is due to be initiated as a keeper of the Silver Gate tomorrow night, Thursday, 3 a.m. It is Wednesday, June 18th in the afternoon. that afternoon, you guys are at the Carnot Manor, and Beauregard tells you, Jacob, that he received a call from a Mr. Stanford.
Yes.
And he asked that you and your friends meet him and a Mr. Pollard, I believe it was, at the lodge this evening at 7:30 p.m.
Okay. Did he leave a return number?
Yes, he did.
Oh, excellent.
He said he told me to give you a message. He said that he hopes to alleviate any suspicions or misunderstandings that you may have about their organization. That's all he said.
Okay, so I share this information with the party.
He'll be alleviating a lot more than
so
that.
I think we've reached a tipping point here. I mean,
you did break into Pollard apartment.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And again, I think with the character of these people, it's not totally out of the realm of possibility that we would be investigating them like they're investigating us. But with this, and so maybe we could go there and just say exactly that. Say, of course we broke into your place. What do you think we are? A bunch of idiots? We're interested in finding out who you are. We understand the occult. We know spells. We have books. We're dealing with all. We could throw that line at them, right, and try to convince them. We're fellow cultists, man. Yeah, I mean, we're not just going to step into a situation without doing our homework, and finding out who we're dealing with. And we have confirmed, obviously, you people are serious wizards.
Yeah.
We could take that angle and try to go deeper. The other thing is we could show up with our, guns and sawed-off shotguns under our coats, and as soon as they open the door, barge in there and let loose, man, and take the place over.
The only thing I have
search it from top to bottom and burn it to the ground. Those are the two. I think those are the two choices. Either fool them, about trying to convince them, but the problem with that is they are wizards, and
murder is
remember,
a pretty serious felony too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think the other piece of this is don't forget that
good lawyers and a lot of money will go a long way.
These boys have come back from shootings and burnings and a few other things. I'm not sure we have the right accoutrements, my friends, to put these guys in the grave. No how, no way.
Yeah,
and
but here's the thing.
Let's not forget the Order of the Silver Twilight. They got sections all over the place. We're going to start a war with these guys. We got to make sure we put the nails in the coffin right. And I don't think we have the right stuff yet.
Well,
and quite honestly, I don't want to burn the place down. I'm still looking for my daughter. I'm hoping.
Oh no! I'm not saying burn the place down right up to. That's another issue, right? We if we're going to find
the murder, then the arson. I understand.
Yeah, exactly. First the murder, then the arson, in that order. Exactly. I just don't know if we'll ever have the proper tool. I mean, this is the deal. If these guys suspect us, they'll come after us full force with all their spells. They'll be summoning things against us. They'll be all this stuff will be occurring. So I'm not sure what you guys. Yeah, I'm not sure what you guys are so keen to wait on here. I'm a little concerned about the approach.
Well, there is the kind of the other side of the coin too, especially having to do with Edgar, and maybe you guys to a certain extent. The order has been very cordial to you guys up until now. They have actually, shown interest in you guys becoming legitimate members of what their organization is. They have offered you to become ranking members of their organization, and they seem they don't seem real, they don't seem like I don't know. It's like when you talk to these guys, especially Carl Stanford, he seems sincere, like he wants you guys to join them. not in sort of an ominous like join us kind of a way, but like hey, we could, you guys could be a really good addition to our the Order of the Silver Twilight, and we'd really like it. So there's that other side of the coin to it. It's like, but do you believe though? I mean,
the only thing that prevents me from going the route that we talked about in regards to just saying, hey, yeah, we're fellow travelers, basically, right? The only thing that prevents me from going down that road is Van Helsing's daughter. I mean, is she held up in the basement, being, who knows what's going on here, right? I mean, this is a friend. It's his daughter. I mean, so that's the only thing that prevents me from going through, really seriously considering the going along plan, as it were.
I kind of like your idea of just going in there and being blunt with them. Who are you? What do you do? Give us the real take of this. Do you
I think we can tell them we know.
dare imagine things as they can be, as indeed they will be when the Earth is transformed and the illusion of reality is raised from the mind for the annihilation of those minds? Do you hope to see Cthulhu striding the Earth? Yes or no?
Well, I think we each could quote some passages from nameless cults, and that would definitely probably impress them.
Do you dream of the throne of Azathoth? Yes or no? It's a simple question.
Exactly. We bring in Harry Carey to do this.
So I mean, I think that's the question. Do you guys want to show up, and be armed and try to convince them that we actually are fellow travelers, that we've had these experiences and we're interested in seeking knowledge and we're aware of the outer gods and all these things? Or do you want to go in there and possibly open up on them?
Well, we can always open up on them later. I mean, let's go in.
When they invite Jacob and friends, are they including
Edgar? Absolutely.
Are they including Dr. Van Helsing?
That is a
because
good question.
Remember, the way I remember what I heard was they've extended all of us invitations, but not Dr. Van Helsing.
Correct, except for this phone call that just came in just now.
Right, but I was just checking to see if that's inclusive of Dr. Van Helsing, because that kind of changes approach, right?
I'm saying is it would definitely put them on guard if somebody that was not invited to join their super secret Yog-Sothoth worshipping ranks came in this conversation of well, we just need to know if John Scott is an immortal warlock or not. Would they look to Van Helsing and just say, we can't really tell you?
Hey, Alex,
is his presence there going to be
reconnect and reload your page? Your voice is getting a little wonky. That was the message.
I mean, well, I guess my question to Van Helsing is, how do you feel about all this? I mean, it's really, it's your daughter, man. I mean, I'm fully willing to go right up there to the front door and kick it in with my foot, and charge in there and see what's going on. If you think another approach, if you want to try to go down the deceptive approach, that's fine too. I just think you guys have to remember what Carl Stanford, not Stanford, but who was it? Scott did to me. Right? Yeah, he cornered me and he questioned me. Obviously, he's got some mind control powers.
Yeah.
So we're gonna roll up. We're gonna roll up.
I don't think a full frontal assault is the way to go.
I don't either.
I think we get our asses handed to us that ways. I think deception is the way to go. I think the sneaky assault is going to meet with these fellers. We're not going to do anything other than talk to them, and we can be armed. We're always armed when we're in there, anyways, Jacob.
Yeah, things go bad, we just start shooting.
Yeah, we'll clear the room. If it gets bad, we'll start shooting right there. But I don't think we go in guns blazing. I just don't think that makes sense.
I think that we should definitely meet with them and ask them, like some point blank questions. You know.
I mean, and keep in mind.
I mean, but if we're going to go in and talk to these guys, our main goal will be to convince them that we are down with their plan, right?
Oh yeah.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're going in there, we're going to have to say, hey, our adventures in South and Central America. Well, we discovered some things.
Well, and don't forget, like this here club by itself has got like 160 members plus. I mean, we're going to get besides just the spells and stuff, there's just too many of these fellers.
Yeah, but keep in mind, too, I mean, don't, again, discount that if any of this information was made public, the Boston public and the elites in Boston would be outraged by any kind of organization like this. And just the association with different races, people would go absolutely insane. There'd be a mob. You could have a mob of 1,000 people in 10 minutes in Boston Square with torches and guns, and they would march down there and burn this. I'm just saying, it wouldn't take a lot to get rid of this. Anybody who was associated with it would not want their name known.
You say that, but what happens when the chief editor of the press is in Boston is also a member of the lodge? The mayor certainly is, so he's probably got the police under his thumb. So this lodge has a lot more protection than just the fact that they can use spells and just the fact that they have large numbers. One of their biggest protections, I think, and one of the reasons that they're allowed to be the way they are anyways in such a public and open setting like this, and the reason they're allowed to go out and say, we accept literally anybody at any time to do these crazy, obviously non-traditional stuff, is because they have so much political protection. They have they have the police behind them, they have the mayor, they have who knows.
Yeah, I still think though, man, a couple well-placed articles, people would be outraged.
If those
to Lee's point, it wouldn't be the first time. It wouldn't be the first time that a group of Call of Cthulhu would riot, at least in my experience. It's a thing.
It can. I definitely agree that could be.
I'm just saying that's not the go-to. I mean, that's not the go-to strategy. I'm just saying as a last resort, we shouldn't be. I mean, these guys are aware of us now, right?
Yeah, very aware.
And more than likely, they're suspicious of our intentions, as we would be.
And I think that's
if we were them, we would.
Them being suspicious of us.
You guys are awfully. Absolutely, but you guys. I mean, you're optimistic to the outcome, I think.
Well, I think, quite frankly, Jacob, we get everything you want by meeting with them. If you want to blast on somebody, these fellers will be sitting right in front of us. We blast away. We come through the front door. They have a chance to skedaddle. I say,
Yeah, no. If we were going to do the assault, if we were going to do some kind of assault, I'm not talking about going up to the front door and breaking it in. It would be some type of night sneaking in, breaking in, trying to be as stealthy as we could, as long as we could, find as much as we could until we had to attack someone. At that time, we'd go full on.
Right, so unless they're planning to ambush us here and now tonight, I think that we should be safe, and we should have a better understanding of what's going to happen going forward after this meeting.
I propose that we take like 5 minutes, just because I need to get up from the table here for 5 minutes, and then we reconvene and figure out, make our final decision.
Okay.
All right, cool.
Okay, 5 minutes.
Let's take a 5-minute break. Intermission.
Yeah, that was.
By the way, Tom, I love that picture that you found of your little avatar there. What the heck is that? Where did you find it? Oh, is he not here?
Yeah, but I think that may be from a Mel Brooks film, but I'm not positive, Alex.
It's got to be a piece of art. That's not a photo, I don't think.
It is a piece of art, but I believe it's like
it
a
looks
rendition
like
from.
It looks like Ernest Borgnine. Oh.
Again. I think it's maybe from a. I think it may be from a Mel Brooks film. I can't remember that.
Oh, what was that movie? Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about now.
Is it high anxiety? Maybe.
High anxiety,
no.
Yeah. He kept giving himself shots.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah, I can't remember if it's some Mel Brooks or high. Yeah, he was using the drugs himself, basically.
Yeah. It's Ernest Borgnine. I didn't make that connection until you mentioned it. That's him.
Yeah. He's the perfect Cthulhu doctor. You there, Sean?
Yeah, I'm here.
That was some good gameplay with Sothoth. That was nice, man.
I enjoyed that. It was fun. That was fun to write up.
So hey, dude, this is what I'm doing. I'm definitely also carrying, besides my 45, and a couple extra clips. I'm also carrying a 357 on me. 45's in the shoulder holster. 357 is tucked in the, behind the waistband on my back.
38? 357 is not a thing.
They don't have them?
No, not in the 1920s.
Oh, you're right. They weren't developed. Yeah. What about? I think the 455 Weatherby.
You can look down here though. I've actually got the page up right now. Oops. Down here, if you zoom in a little bit, there's some weapons tables. Look at the handguns.
Yeah, there's some handguns that were available back then that were like the British revolvers. They don't have them listed here. I've seen them other places.
Well, we just have to figure out what the equivalent is.
I think hold on here.
The 38 or a 32 revolver are probably the most common, or a 45 revolver. 38 is what the police use, pretty much. 45 revolvers pack a punch.
Let's see. Yeah, here we go. There's a 1920s specific equipment. Yeah, for the 1920s investigators.
Should we get some dynamite, Lee?
Oh, I definitely think we should have some dynamite on us for sure, man.
And if things go bad, we'll just say, back off, or I'm going to blow us all up.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so there's a 455 Webley.
Let me get my book and I'll look it up and I'll see if I have it. Hold on.
Yeah, it's in the Investigator's Companion Volume 1, Equipment Resources.
So we're about to make either the biggest mistake of our Cthulhu career so far, or we're about to get the information we need to start a war with the Silver Twilight. Or
what are we doing right now? Looks like we're adding weapons or something.
I'm just deciding what to bring with me, I guess.
Get a war boomerang, man.
Where the heck do you see that?
Nothing says you mean business like a war boomerang.
Where is that?
See handguns? Look at the category where right up there it says chainsaw, and just go up and you'll see it.
All right, I have a whole big fat book full of weapons here.
Oh my god, the war.
I like this. It says legal weapons for the 1920s.
Hey, dude, you should get a flamethrower.
Let's see.
Unless I'm gonna take a single shot 8 gauge and saw it off.
What did you say? A Webley? What was it?
Yeah, it's It's a 455.
Got it. Let's see. There's a bunch of Webleys listed here.
Yeah, those are the British.
Webley WG Army 455 Webley.
Yep.
What is it?
It's a handgun.
The British handgun. Shoots a big old chunky round.
Yeah, it looks like it does the same damage as a 45, though.
Yeah, but it sounds cooler.
It kind of does, yeah.
It's got it's got a crackdown barrel.
It's my backup. I've got the 45 in the shoulder holster, the Webleys, the waistband on my back.
Yeah, there's a Webley Mark 6. There it is, right there.
Yep, that's it.
Comes right up.
I'm sorry, does that say that war boomerangs cost $2?
Webley advertisement said, "This revolver is the simplest, strongest, and certainly the best made of all military weapons. It is the only suitable weapon for officers on active service." So, let me see. The stats look very similar to a 45.
Right.
I think. The only difference being, if there is one, let's see, Colt 45.
Range, maybe?
Wow, dude, Colt made a gun that shot the Webley ammo. Colt made a 4.55 too. Interesting.
What are you looking at?
I'm just looking at this gun here real quick. Colt 126. Yeah, the Webley looks almost identical, dude, stat wise.
Okay.
It's a base 20%. Wait a minute. That might not be right. I'm going by what the character sheets say.
Go for a jungle hunting bow.
Yeah, handguns are 20%. Yeah, so Webley Mark 6, 4.55 caliber, 20%, 1d10 plus 2. Base range is 15 yards. Rate of fire is 1 or 2. Capacity is 6. Hit points 8. Malfunction 0. 1915 to 1939. It is a bit more expensive at $45 than a Colt. But otherwise, it's pretty much identical to a 45 revolver on the chart here.
Okay. I'll grab one of those, and can I find a single shot 10 gauge or 8 gauge I can saw off?
Yeah, like a break open or something?
Yeah, just a simple break open, 8 or 10 gauge, saw it off, super short.
Sure.
Yeah, so 45 and shoulder holster, 8 gauge on the other side and a holster, shoulder holster, Webley in the back.
How about a 10 gauge?
Yep, 10 gauge is fine.
That way I have, can at least look at it here. 10 gauge does that extra 2 damage, it looks like. Single shot. All right, so you guys are going to the meeting, I presume.
My vote is yes.
I'm voting yes, but I'm coming armed.
I vote yes, but I'm coming armed.
Yeah, I vote yes, but I'm bringing a pair of really, really dark sunglasses that will almost obscure my vision, and I'm also putting earplugs in.
Yeah.
So they kind of muffle,
I like that idea.
Muffle the sound a little bit,
That will look kind of odd, won't it?
The earplugs?
Yeah.
The glasses will, but the earplugs sound good.
He's going all Farnsworth on us, Eustace.
He is. You're doing that all wrong, Jacob. You got to get some gross wax and jam it in your ears. Farnsworth knew what he was doing.
Oh, really? Gross wax. Okay, so I'll have some of that in my pocket just in case. I'll pull the incredibly obvious earplugs out.
Yeah, Farnsworth would stick wax in his ears to cut down on the whispering sounds and the laughing coming from outside the farmhouse. All right,
Okay.
so let's just go down the line here. So Jacob, you're bringing with you a Webley Mark 6.
Yep.
That's a revolver.
Yep.
You've got a sawed-off 10 gauge. Any other personal effects or?
Yeah, knife. I've got a flask with that's filled with gasoline.
Okay.
Got a Zippo lighter, some matches.
Tom's chuckling. We'll get to you in a second, Tom.
Got a couple. I know. Got a couple strips of cloth
He's taking a few
for either
lessons from the
bandages
Book of Edgar.
or wicks.
Okay.
You've got a couple of what on you?
A couple strips of cloth, like bandages or wicks, in my pocket.
So Jacob,
and some morphine.
Here. No bar. That's in the trunk.
That's in the trunk, and also in the trunk with the bar is a couple gallons of gasoline and some dynamite.
All right, he's got the Browning machine gun and some gasoline in the trunk. All right.
Yeah.
You know how horribly dangerous dynamite is, right? Just in general.
Yeah, it is. It can be.
Yeah, we've used it before.
Yeah, just for simplicity's sake, we'll say that you got some dynamite stash. You say he's bringing some dynamite too?
Yeah, in the car. In a crate in sawdust. Is
it the dynamite that we brought back from the hard-to-burn jungles?
It is not.
No.
That was most likely discarded safely.
Yeah, that's been disposed of into the bay.
That's got sentimental value, guys.
Yes. It's also probably got nitroglycerin crystallizing on the outside of it.
Yeah,
now you're all safety conscious all of a fucking sudden.
Yeah, hindsight's 2020. With you guys being so foolish just to bring all that dynamite with you out into the jungle, I should have made that shit just sweat and just fucking blow the whole fucking expedition to Kingdom Come. That's what realistically should have ended.
Well, I always love
the next digital expedition. Just remember that.
Well, how about
I just remember Morgan's expedition, like his comments, like these are your methods.
Right. Yeah, he didn't want you to bring it. All right, Eusephus, what are you bringing on your person to this meeting here?
I plan on stripping Jacob's corpse once he falls down from all the stuff that's got on it. I'm going to take my pistol and my knife, and I have my 12 gauge sawed-off. I'm not really sure that's inconspicuous, though.
No sawed-off shotguns really too.
Yeah, I mean, I think
so.
I think what's in the car is my the Chicago typewriter. My 3 magazines. Okay. The sawed off, but just on my person, just the pistol and the knife. I think that's probably enough.
Well, by the way, Tom, in case you didn't know, we're calling the Tommy gun Chicago typewriter. Sort of.
Wait, say that again?
We're calling his Tommy gun. We call it a Chicago typewriter.
Got it.
Gangster talk, whatever. All right, and Nicholas, what's Nicholas have on his person for this meeting?
Who?
Mr. Dr. Van Helsing.
Oh, right.
I'm going to bring 6 individual sticks of dynamite, Zippo lighter, my revolver, and my scalpel. I'll go ahead and leave the sawed-off shotgun in the car.
Scalpel.
You're saying that's not conspicuous? I can't hide that?
Sawed-off. Sawed-off is pretty conspicuous.
I got a big black trench coat. Yeah, I got a big black trench coat on. That's kind of like my garb.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
All right, I'll bring this shotgun.
I went for the single barrel instead of the double barrel.
Yeah, there's not much of a difference. I mean, as far as concealability, but sawed-off's not too big. They're pretty short.
What are you gonna do when they take your coats?
Give them the 8 gauge, 10 gauge barrel right in their face.
Well, no, we have our overcoats and then we have our suit jackets,
Right. All right. So 6 sticks, Zippo, revolver, the sawed off in the trunk of the limo.
No, I'm going to keep the sawed off with me and my scalpel.
And the scalpel.
Down your pant
Trusty
leg
old,
or something?
the trusty old scalpel.
Gotta have my scalpel.
Right. And Edgar.
Well, is Yusufus bringing the Elder Sign rock?
I don't think there's a good way to bring that with us.
It's just a rock, right?
Oh
wait, no. What'd you put it on?
It's a shield.
Oh,
I can put the shield in the trunk.
You should walk up to the front door with the shield.
No one expects Spanish Inquisition.
We'll show this exactly. Order our Elder Sign shields. We'll throw the shield in the trunk. Why not?
Shield in the trunk. Good enough.
Right on top of the dynamite.
All right. What does Edgar have with him?
Flask of oil, obviously. Shovel in the back trunk, obviously.
And a small spade that he keeps.
No.
Yeah, like a garden spade.
His Sunday
garden
best.
trowel.
Garden trowel.
His Sunday best.
What else?
His Sunday
what?
best. His Sunday best. He's wearing his Sunday best.
His Sunday best. Bow tie.
Mm-hmm. And that's all.
Okay. All right.
I should get a sword cane is what I should do.
We should. We all should. In fact, because I've got the fractured leg, that's what I want.
In fact, let's just get him right now. Cane Mart.
Yeah, exactly. Those are around. Come on.
All right. So you guys arrive at the lodge, 7:30 p.m. sharp, and you can see there are some cars parked up front. Usually in the evening at the lodge during the week, there's usually members in there, socializing and such. So you expect some people probably to be in here. And indeed, when you enter, you can hear, voices of men in the lounge, some clinking glasses. There's some soft jazz playing on a phonograph. I think I might have something along those lines. Yeah. And you guys are greeted by one of the tuxedoed, fezzed African servants at the door who offers to take your coats. It's not Mabu, no.
Darn, it's not the avatar of Barry Pollard.
He offers to take your coats, and he says, gentlemen, we have a table for you in the dining room, if you'll come this way. And he leads you into the dining room, and you see sitting at one of the corner tables, you see Carl Stanford and Barry Pollard sitting there. They've got some drinks. And Stanford stands up as you enter. He says, gentlemen, I'm glad you could make it. Please come, have a seat.
Will Mr. Scott be joining us?
He says, no, Mr. Scott has prior engagements this evening. He may join us later. You all know Mr. Pollard. And Barry stands up and he says, gentlemen, good evening.
I smile and I shake his hand.
Oh, yes, we know Mr. Pollard well.
Evening, Mr. Pollard.
It's good to see you again.
Ms. Stanford's like, sit. Would you like some drinks?
Of course we would. We'll get a round of the regulars because we're here all the time.
All right. He tells the servant to get some drinks. And he sits down. And a second.
Does he take note of me? Does he? I mean, he's seen me before. I've been at the lodge, but okay.
Yeah, you've spoken with him just briefly a couple of times. He was at your ceremonies, when you were inducted as an initiate and as a master eventually. So you know him. You don't know too much about him. You've had a few just kind of
Right. Okay.
Jib jab conversations with him. But this is him right there. He's wearing his fake glasses. And here's Pollard. He's wearing his gangster glasses. And he says, indeed, I'm glad you all could make it tonight. See, he says, as I told your butler, Jacob, we hope to alleviate any suspicion we have about ourselves and our organization. And specifically, he says, Dr. Van Helsing, and he turns to you, Nicholas. He says, I wanted to speak to Dr. Van Helsing. He says, Doctor, we are very well aware that your daughter has gone missing, and you have our sincerest condolences, he says. He says, I assure you that our organization has nothing to do with her disappearance. And he's looking at you, and he keeps his eyes on you as he takes a drink of champagne. He says, we're aware that your daughter, Miss Van Helsing, was researching the history of our organization and some of its members before her disappearance. And we also know that much of her research had to do with Mr. Scott's ancestors, of which I will speak of shortly, he says. He says, but be assured, we have nothing to hide, and we would be pleased if you would accept our assistance in finding your daughter. All of our resources are available to you, Doctor.
I nod in this general direction.
He says, now, and he clears his throat. He says, the matter of the location of this lodge is no coincidence, gentlemen. He says, Mr. Scott's ancestor was indeed the same John Scott who was prosecuted as a witch and burned at the stake over 200 years ago. Those events and the accounts of them are nothing more than fanatical fallacies propped up by superstition and the zealously religious population that lived in this area at the time. He says, 10 years ago, Mr. Scott and I purchased this land to build our lodge, very well knowing that it was once owned by his ancestor. Mr. Scott felt compelled to build a lodge on this site, not only because the land was available, but because he felt it was his birthright. The Scott family had lived on this land for over 100 years before the unfortunate events in 1721.
Well, we are familiar with the events.
You say that?
Yeah.
Well, he says, of course. He says, I can assure you that rumors and writings of the Scott farm are false and based on lies of the overzealous witch hunts occurring at the time. Mr. Scott's ancestor was a scientist and a philosopher, much like ourselves, and frankly, quite completely misunderstood by his neighbors. There are no caves or caverns beneath this property, and the rumors of witchcraft and resurrections are pure fantasy, he says. So, you see, my intention this evening is to be honest and transparent, and there's no need, of course, to break into our members' residences. He kind of glances at Pollard. Pollard glances at Jacob. No need to spy, no need to be suspicious. And
well, you understand our concerns, just like you would have concerns about us joining your organization. We're just trying to figure out exactly the nature of the people we're associating with, which isn't unreasonable, of course.
He says, we completely understand your suspicions, Jacob. Given your background and the other gentlemen at this table, goodness knows that there is much to be suspicious about. He says,
well, and there's also much to be learned. I think we can gain from each other's experience and knowledge.
Yeah, I would say it's a fair statement that we've all been misunderstood a time or two. So just like Mr. Scott's neighbors, we've had people look at us in a rather strange light, so we have to be very careful about who we associate with. You understand, of course.
Yeah, we are not one to judge we understand the universe and ideas are far beyond the normal scope of what the normal person thinks. We don't apply the normal morality. So we understand.
Pollard speaks up. He says, well, Jacob, we have no reason to be judgmental either. My meeting with Mr. Casey on the street the other day was no coincidence, as I'm sure you have presumed. He says, we of course must have suspicions of our own.
Absolutely.
For prospective members, especially members who we wish to bring into the fold of the higher ranks. He says, think of the other day as a bit of a test, if you will. We just wanted to learn a little more about your intentions, gentlemen. It's really as simple as that.
Absolutely, and that's totally fair, and I think we were attempting to do the same.
Stanford says, well, as a sign of our goodwill, and in the spirit of honesty and transparency, I think that it might be a good idea to offer you all a tour of the upper and lower floors of this building, to again help alleviate any suspicions that you may have about our intentions and about our members.
You refer to the third floor in the basement.
Yes. He says, I think it's about time.
Well, my curiosity is piqued, I must say.
I accept your invitation.
I do too.
Yeah, and like I said, hopefully this will be, the beginning of a simpatico. We can both learn from the information we've gleaned from our experiences.
You sound like you've been talking to Miguel.
He says, before we do so, I feel compelled that I should reiterate. Understand that the Hermetic Order of the Silver Twilight is indeed much more than it appears. We're not some fanciful, common fraternal organization. We do have very keen and legitimate interests in things of occult nature and magic and such things, as we've told you openly in the past. He says, some of the things I show you may be a bit disturbing, but he says, but please, he says, just so you're prepared, he says.
We want you to drooling. Okay.
And so he says, well, what we'll do is we'll just have a quick meal, if you'd like, and we'll take you on a tour. And so he, you guys order some food, and as you're eating, Stanford brings up again to Van Helsing about his daughter, and he expresses that he's serious about helping you find your daughter. He says, if there's anything we can do, we've already have word out trying to find any information. We haven't found anything so far, but if there's anything we can do for you, Dr. Helsing, to help in this time of need, please let us know.
I loosen up a little bit, and I talk to him more about it. It's like, hey, I appreciate that. Can you tell me the last time you saw her? Stuff like that. I start asking him questions of that nature.
Yeah, he said he's never met her. He's just aware of her investigation into the lodge. He knows people at the Boston Globe that had mentioned her investigations and her work. So he knows that she was investigating the lodge, and particularly John Scott's ancestry and the history of this property. Just kind of, he came to know that she pretty much knew a lot about the same kind of stuff that you guys have been researching, as far as the lodges on the same property as the Scott farm back in 1721. And she had probably found a lot of the same stuff you guys found about him being proclaimed a witch and, being burned at the stake and buried alive, and all the stories about grave robbery and all that kind of crap. But he says he never met her personally.
And this is off the record. Are there women inside here, or is it just men?
No, he says that the order has an auxiliary, which consists of members' wives.
I'm asking you, Game Master. Are there women in this room right now?
No, women aren't allowed.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, got it. Yep. Okay.
Not at all. So after dinner, Stanford proceeds to lead you guys up to the lodge room, which is dark. There are some dim lights in here, and he leads you guys up to the drape behind the noble philosopher's dais, and he pulls back the drape, and behind the drape is a door, and through the door to the left is a storage room which appears to be empty. There is a door with a small window in it right across from the door where you enter, and it leads out onto a fire escape. And to the right, there are some stairs that lead up.
Okay. Is it still dimly lit in this stairwell, or?
Yeah, there are like gas light sconces on the walls. It's all gas lighting. There are some electric lights in the lodge room, but in the hallway there's some old-fashioned kind of gas lights.
Mr. Stanford, what do you use the storage room for?
He says we usually use it to store supplies for the lodge room meetings. We store some of the robes and some of the clothing and some of the items that we use for the various initiation ceremonies and such. It is currently empty, of course. He tells you that on the third floor, these are the rooms that we use for initiation into the higher orders of the lodge. The Keeper of the Silver Gate, Knight of the Outer Void, and so on. So he kind of leads you up these stairs here.
Are both of the sets of stairs actually broken?
Hmm?
One of the sets of stairs looks like it's broken.
What?
On the map.
That's
no.
The shadow, I think.
Yeah. It's just.
Do we need a marching order?
No, that's fine.
Okay.
We're good.
The door that is leading out to the fire escape, is it a standard door? Is it a heavy door? What's it look like?
It's a pretty heavy door. It's a heavy wooden door with a very small window in the center of it. You can kind of see outside. You can see the trees out there through a very small window in it.
Okay.
Is it locked?
That might be a good
It appears to
point
be
of
locked.
egress for us.
Yep. Just something to note that it's there.
Mm-hmm.
And that it's locked.
It won't be when we use that shovel at Edgar Case's against it.
All right, let's go upstairs, man.
So it's all of us in Pollard and Stanford, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So he leads you up to the stairs, and there's a long hallway, and there's electric lighting up here. It's still kind of dim. It's a long hallway. There's some doors down at the other end of the hall, and there is another doorway to your right that looks like another door to a fire escape outside. This door doesn't have any window in it, and there is a door directly before you. And you see Stanford. He pulls out a ring of keys, and he unlocks the door.
What's the key look like? Is it the same? Does it look like the same key that I ripped from Pollard's room?
It looks similar. They're like old-timey skeleton keys.
Right. Okay.
And you enter the room, and he says that these are the initiation rooms for the 4th degree, the Keeper of the Silver Gate. And he goes, and I'll describe the room to you. The room is paneled with like wooden paneling. It's carpeted. The ceilings are plain painted wood. And light comes from electric sconces on the walls. And you see rows of chairs lining all of the walls in the room, except for the eastern part where you see a thick black drape covering the eastern wall. He says this is the first chamber for the initiation rituals for the Keepers of the Silver Gate. And he walks over. The altar in here is about 3 feet high, and it's a 5-pointed star in cross section, sitting kind of towards the middle of the room on the eastern side. He walks over, and he begins pulling this rope that appears to be on some kind of pulley, and the black drape begins sliding back. And you see painted on the wall, on the eastern wall, is a mural. And the mural is of night on a barren, dead landscape. There's a doorway in the eastern wall, and the door is framed in silver. And it seems to be, the painting around the door, it seems to be framed in this silvery light, as if it's a magical portal. Leading out of this barren waste that you see painted in this mural on this wall. You find it's very well done. As you guys move up to about where the altar is, you get a good look at it, and the lighting in here is very dim, and you can almost like see the moonlight shimmering, in this barren waste before you. And it's a little disturbing, to be quite honest with you.
Does it remind us of the Dreamlands at all? Any of our Dreamlands experience?
In a way, it does, because it doesn't seem really natural. It almost seems like it doesn't look like earthly. Like it's almost like a desert type scene, but there are these black rocks and these weird shadow patterns. And like I said, the light coming off of, the stars, you see there's a horizon back there, and there's a dim light coming from the stars shining. It seems like it's actually kind of shimmering with light. It's very kind of realistic looking.
So I'll lean over to Eusephus and say, reminiscent of the Dreamlands.
Yes, Mr. Stanford. Have you ever actually been to the Dreamlands?
He says, no, I can't say I have. I've read about it.
What about you, Mr. Pollard?
He shakes his head.
Yes. Well,
he says, I haven't yet determined the significance or the veracity of those writings.
I can assure you they exist. And I look Pollard like dead in the eye. In fact, I believe that whoever did this painting, whoever you contacted to do this painting, most likely was there himself.
Stanford gives you the Spock brow.
Mr. Eusephus, myself, and, of course, Jacob, have all been there.
Well, that's very interesting. We should speak of this more. I'd love to hear about it. Everybody give me a spot hidden.
I think we should be pretty upfront with these people. I mean, I don't see any reason.
In as much as convincing them that we're fellow travelers, yeah.
Let me see. I don't know if that's a win for me or not. Spot. Yep, I made it. Ooh, I I should check it off too.
Ooh, 19, made it.
Yeah,
Holy
that's
cow.
good, Tommy.
Nice roll.
Dun, dun,
I also.
dun.
Oh, wait. I got an. Oh. Darn. My dice say 19, but. Oh, that's
No, I
his
missed
dice,
it.
I guess. Okay, yeah, I got an 84. I missed
Okay.
it.
So Eusephus and Nicholas made it. Tom, you rolled the lowest. Both of you
sir.
guys check. Tom and Kyle, check those skills.
Got
Nicholas, you notice as you get kind of a closer look at it. Okay, you're looking at it. It's actually very fine work. You have a little bit of experience as an art critic, say. You're kind of a fan, right? You notice down near the floor on near the southern corner of the wall, there appears to be a signature.
Awesome.
It
That's awesome.
looks like an artist's signature. And the signature says what appears to say Pickman.
Uh-oh.
Do we know that name?
No.
But we will.
I
Your
know it.
characters don't.
I certainly do.
No, the
myself
investigators
do.
don't.
Yeah.
Well, how do you spell it?
Pickman.
Pickman. Okay.
I make a mental note.
Okay. And again, the doorway that appears to go into another room is framed by this sort of shimmering, magical silver portal. Stanford has his keys out again, and he unlocks this next door and leads you into the next room. You find this room very much like the first room, except that the altar is different. It's a pentagonal in a cross section, whereas the first one was a star shape in a cross section. And Carl again walks over to this black drape and begins pulling it back with this pulley system. And this one is quite different from the first one you saw. It shows an apparently normal landscape with hills and valleys and trees, and there's small streams. It's almost like overlooking a shallow valley. It's quite beautiful, actually. But what's striking about it somewhat is a silhouetted human figure in the foreground facing away from the viewers. It's almost like a black silhouette shape of a man facing away from you, looking out at this sort of beautiful scene of this valley below.
Same author or same painter?
Nicholas, you check, and indeed, again, signed in the bottom right-hand corner is the signature Pickman. It's kind of small and it's not very noticeable in the dim light, but it looks like it's also signed by Pickman. Now, after viewing it, I mean, Stanford kind of steps back and he's looking at it like this, and he's kind of letting you guys take it in a little bit. All of you find something sort of profoundly alien about this mural after viewing it after 20, 30 seconds. And what's alien about it is none of the trees or the wildlife that's depicted here, the bushes, even the water is sort of a strange color. They're no, you can't recognize. Some of you guys may have some, natural history knowledge. None of the animals seem quite right. None of the trees seem like species of trees you've ever seen. It's just really kind of strange.
It's an alien landscape.
Mr. Stanford.
Profoundly.
Yeah.
And the more you look at it, the more you begin to realize, like, that's definitely not anywhere on Earth.
Yeah, this is a different. Yeah.
And again, you get this sensation. You can almost see like some of the trees just slightly swaying in the wind. You can almost see the water, the strange greenish blue water rippling.
Wow.
So I comment on how impressive it is. I'm like, wow,
it's almost like we're there.
This is impressive.
I reach out and touch the wall.
He says this is my favorite one, says Stanford.
I can see why.
Okay, before you touch the wall, Tom,
Okay.
As I said, something about it's really profoundly alien, and all of you actually, after staring at it, get this feeling of sort of agitation, like this kind of. It almost starts as kind of an earache, and then it's kind of giving you a slight headache. Nicholas, you stand up and you walk up and you put your hand to the wall, and you notice a very sudden change in your perspective. Nicholas, you no longer see the slight movements of the trees or the rippling of the water. Everything kind of seems to snap. It almost like it dispels the unreal the feeling that you are getting from it when you touch it. Everybody make a sanity check.
Oh.
Except for Van Helsing?
No, everybody can.
Come here.
I didn't make it.
So do we want to miss it or make it?
You always want to make a sanity check.
Yep.
26. Hey. Oh, crap.
All right. Did everybody make it except for Edgar?
I didn't make it.
I don't know. Is that 26 mine?
You made it, Tommy.
No,
you
that's
made it.
mine.
What did I get?
You got a 41.
Okay, made it. Woo!
All right, Edgar, you lose 2 sanity. Yusufus, you lose 2 sanity.
Oh, man, it's getting low in that sanity bucket.
Stanford and Pollard lead you out the door into the hallway.
Before we do, I turned to Mr. Stanford after looking at it and after seeing him touch it. Mr. Stanford, do you know what he was painting here? Surely you can see that this is not our world.
It's a special technique by a man who I met many years ago in Arkham, Massachusetts. It's quite impressive, isn't it?
It is, but where?
You say he's from Arkham?
Well, I'm assuming that, yeah, he says that this artist that he met many years ago in Arkham. So Edgar's asking, where does as in like where, what does it portray? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah, the foreground, yeah.
He says, I would like to know the answer to that question, says Stanford. I was hoping you would know.
Doesn't look like any of the landscapes we're familiar with from our adventures, but
Yes,
who knows?
It's quite strange.
Maybe there's
studied it at length, and I can't find any comparison in any books on natural history or botany.
Is there any writing, like, on anything in the painting in of itself? Other than Pickman's signature?
Just a signature.
Okay.
Yeah, I think any information on this landscape would have to be gotten from books that weren't, let's say,
man-made?
standard.
Now, there's no door in this picture? Or, I'm sorry, there's no door in the middle of this wall?
No, there's not.
Okay.
There is a doorway in the north side, which Stanford leads you guys to. Unlocks that and leads you out into the hallway. Across the hall, there are 2 doors, one to your left and one to your right. Also, at the end of the hallway, there is a door. And inset into gold upon this door, right here at the very end of the hallway, inset in gold is an elder sign.
Ooh.
Say, Mr. Stanford, is that a true elder sign?
Yes, indeed.
Empowered and all?
He walks over, and he says, "If you will, gentlemen, allow me." And he flips a light switch, boom, and turns out the lights.
That's blue.
All the lights go out in the hallway, and you can see the dim bluish green glow coming from the golden elder sign on the eastern door.
It's authentic.
Yeah, and so they're using it to keep something back, which actually makes me
just
feel a
gonna
little more
say.
comfortable about them.
I was going to say, what are you keeping back?
Well, no. Here's the question. I mean, here's another thing. They created the Elder Sign. How are they creating it?
Stanford says to you, Nicholas. He says, "One never knows, does he?"
So true.
He kind of grins.
I nod and I say, Mr. Stanford, if you recall my inquiries about the dust of Ibn Ghazi, you can use that to make a form of liquid that you can use to empower these elder signs without the use of your soul, without the use of
Your
draining
soul.
yourself.
He says, "You don't say, Mr. Casey. I'm not aware of alternate techniques to create the elder sign."
Yes, I believe a friend of Yusufus learned it through the Somerset tablets. We can speak of it later.
Okay.
Is he salivating a little bit?
he does seem genuinely interested, for sure.
You have a little gleam in his eye.
Yeah. Let me look at something here.
Maybe now will give me that freaking Ibn Ghazi dust.
I don't know if he's not aware of.
Well, I think being able to look at the library they have here and study their books, you might be able to find something.
Yeah, that would be huge.
All right, so he leads you to this door over here, right next to the elder sign door. And he opens it up. And he says, this is the initiation room for the 5th degree, the Knights of the Outer Void. As he leads you in and begins walking over to the curtain as you guys kind of peer around. He says, the room has a bare wood floor, stark white walls, a black ceiling, and is lit by bare electric bulbs and wall sconces. The altar in this room is a metal cylinder, 2.5 feet high. And the curtain, or the drape in this room, is pure snow white, as Stanford begins walking over to it and pulling it back with the pulley. When the white linen curtain is moved aside, you see a mural depicting outer space. You see stars, galaxies, and in the center of the painting, a single dark planet.
Again, our Dreamlands experience, we're traveling through space on that galley.
Similar. As you gaze into this painting,
the theme music changes.
The painting seems to start drawing you into it. You get this sense of motion. And it starts giving you feelings, very deep-seated feelings. Turn it down a little bit. Of, let's say, best way to describe it is personal insignificance. You feel utter desolation. And within seconds, you feel physically, you move into this painting. And you find yourself floating in this black, vast, infinitely vast blackness, full of stars that are sparkling. You see the spirals of galaxies. And before you, you see, in the distance, it's quite small still, a single dark planet with a very faint nimbus around it. And either you are moving toward this dark planet or the dark planet is moving toward you. Everybody make a sanity check. Again, the most sort of compelling thing about this experience is the feeling of insignificance and just desolation.
Oh, God.
Oh, I didn't make it again.
I made it.
All right.
I'm going to need to see some Crown and Shield doctored. I took 10 points last time I played. I've taken 12 total in the last 2 sessions.
Edgar, you failed?
Yes.
Take 3. Yusuf, you failed. Take 4.
Okay. That's...
How much have you taken so far, Edgar? Where did you start?
5. I've taken 5.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you started at 37.
Yes. I think I've taken 5. I've taken that 3 and then the 2. So yeah, 5.
Nicholas, at some point, time seems to stand still or move very quickly forward or very quickly back, or you're not sure. Nicholas, almost as an impulse or reflex, you reach your hand out like this.
Yeah, and touch it.
And you feel like you just kind of pop back into the room. And all of you do. Suddenly. You are now staring at this mural on the wall where just a moment ago you felt almost surrounded by it. And Stanford is just kind of standing there with his fingers like this, crossed over his solar plexus, just kind of looking at you all.
I look at Stanford and I smile. I nod at him.
He smiles back. He says,
Impressive.
Is this painted by Pickman too?
He says yes. I don't like to look at this one too long, he says.
I'm just staring at it point blank without speaking.
He says it's a bit agitating to me.
It is challenging.
Yes. You may find, though, if you do stare long, it can open your mind in ways that I really can't explain in words. He says, during our initiations here for the Knights of the Outer Void, we speak some more about it. And if you should reach that rank, you may learn a little bit more about the meaning of this this mural and specifically the Dark Planet.
At which point I turn. So then you do know where these paintings are.
He says, well, I have an idea. He says, obviously this one depicts outer space.
Yes, but the planet.
In time, Mr. Casey, in time. Follow me, gentlemen. He leads you back out into the hallway. And he leads you into the next room. Oops. Hold on. Saw The Shining last night in the movie theater. It was awesome. Some Shining music here for you right now. Oh, here it comes. All right. He says this room is the initiation room for the 6th degree, the Sons of Yog Sothoth. And he walks over to the curtain. There is no altar. The floor is carpeted, the walls are paneled, and the drapes are scarlet this time. He begins to pull the drape back. And on the west wall, oh, by the way, on the west wall you see another scarlet drape. Behind the drape on the east wall, as he pulls it back, is perhaps one of the most horrible things you have ever seen. It depicts a hill under a clear night sky with a full moon, and at the top of the hill is a circle of stones, and in the center of the circle is a human figure in garish robes, dancing madly. Moving into the sky from that point of this dancing figure, like a cloud of smoke, is a gigantic mass of slimy, iridescent spheres. The hill outside of the circle of stones are thousands of partly decayed, still living humanoid creatures. You all begin to hear these humanoid creatures begin to cry with ghoulish glee as the phosphorescent spears actively drip goo and iridescent slime from these gigantic orbs that begin to twirl and move above this dancing figure, who begins to also take motion, and you can see the thing comes to life, essentially. Everybody make a sanity. all of you just feel utter horror and oddly of profound loss.
I make it.
Oddly, yes.
All of you get this feeling like your mother just died. All right.
I missed it by 1 point.
I made it.
Oh.
Kyle.
If you made it, if you made it, lose 1.
Oh, if you made it, lose 1. No kidding. Okay.
Who failed?
Me.
I failed.
Lee, did you make it with a 61? I guess
I
you
did.
Didn't you? Okay.
Yep.
I remember those days when I had a sanity that high.
I
Edgar.
don't.
Oh, fuck me.
Uh-oh. Did we bring a straitjacket or a rope to tie anybody up with?
Beauregard's got that in the car somewhere.
Eusephus, you lose 3 more.
I lose a whopping 8.
We might be knocking some party members out here.
I might not be able to go into this last room. I might be going down to get a drink or something. I'm not shitting you. Like, I'm at 20.
I think this is the last room, isn't it? I think this is the 6th degree.
No, there's one more. The wizard
Yeah,
room.
the wizard.
Oh, okay. You guys may have to check out for the wizard.
I may not be going into the wizard room. Just for everybody's safety.
Eusephus.
Mm-hmm.
You all see Eusephus just within 10 or 12 seconds of viewing this scene as it comes to life. Out of the corner of your eye, you hear this thump, and you look over, and Eusephus has fallen to his knees with his arms at his sides, his mouth agape, looking up at this mural, and you see drool coming out of his mouth, and his eyes are wide. You see tears welling up, streaming down his face, and he's just, his mouth begins moving like this.
I go up to him and I say, "Pull it together, man." And I slap him a couple times. Crack, crack, crack.
He completely ignores you.
Uh-oh.
Alex?
Obscure his vision of the mural, you know?
Roll a d10.
You deal with Eusephus, I'll deal with Edgar.
All right.
Also, Eusephus, roll a d10.
Lose 6 more sanity.
No. Edgar faints. Boom. He's on the floor. Oh, whoa. God. About gave me a heart attack.
You almost looked like Eusephus there for just a second. Like, no!
Yeah, 10 would have been bad. Eusephus also faints. Nicholas, you go up to Eusephus and kind of grab him by the shoulder, and you're like, "Wow, snap out of it, Eusephus!" And his eyes kind of roll in his head, and he looks at you, and he just kind of falls sideways to the floor, unconscious.
That's probably the best thing that could have happened.
Yeah. Pollard comes over, and he's standing over Edgar, and he kind of crouches down, and he like feels his forehead. And Stanford said, "No worries, they'll be fine. Just give them a few moments."
I look at him. I'm not worried.
He says, "Gentlemen, please, you should stop looking at the mural now." And he walks over and he starts pulling the drape back closed. Again, Lee, you should have lost 1 sanity too, even though you made it.
I did.
Okay.
I deducted it.
And after a minute, Eusephus and Edgar, you're actually. Why don't you guys, Tom and Lee, both of you guys roll first aid? Let's see if you can.
Okay.
I'll give you guys an opportunity to make a roll at least.
I felt some of Nicholas's first aid. It starts with snapping.
I forgot my morphine shot. I can't believe I didn't bring it.
I brought some morphine with me.
68. Oh.
I made it.
Seriously?
Nice.
Cool. Looks like Tom. Looks like you made it too. Or no, you.
No, I failed.
Oh, you failed.
I have a 65. Unbelievable.
All
He
right, Lee,
missed it by 3 points.
Yep.
All right, Lee, you can check that. Jacob, you wake up Eusephus. He wakes up, his eyes kind of flutter, and he looks over at the crimson curtain, and he gets up on his knees, in his hands. He's kind of on all fours, and he is just kind of looking at. He's kind of breathing heavily. He's still drooling quite a bit.
You know, pull out my my handkerchief and clean him up a little bit and give him a hand and stand him up. You know.
He's in distress.
Yeah.
Well,
it's going to be okay, man. No problems.
No more murals.
Stanford says this particular mural can have that effect on people, I'm afraid. I just thought that it was important for you all to experience. And he says, as I said, he said, this is the room where we initiate the sons of Yog-Sothoth. He says, you do not yet know the true gods. Everything you know is a lie, gentlemen. The great old ones are the rulers of the universe. These and others you have not heard of will be the objects of your adulation, your emulation, and your tenacious love. You are the fortunate ones. The time may come, if you give your selfless devotion, that you will worship in the flesh the temples of Relay, whose glory is beyond your comprehension. And he looks over at Pollard, and Pollard looks over at Stanford, and they both walk out of the room into the hallway and leave.
All right, well, can I marshal myself out of the door?
Oh, I'm helping. I have Eusephus by one arm, and I'm moving towards the door.
Okay. Edgar, you wake up.
I say, show me more.
But wait, who's got Edgar? Is he up and about?
I just
Edgar wakes up. Yeah.
He's up and he can motivate on his own. Okay. I mean, not that Eusephus could do anything about it, but I don't want to leave Casey behind, man. I want to see that shovel in action more. Or especially that garden trowel.
Yeah. Peering out in the hallway, Stanford and Pollard are standing not too far down the hallway, and they seem to be kind of talking to each other in hushed tones. Stanford comes walking back into the doorway of the SOYS room. And he says, Edgar, Eusephus, are you okay?
I'm not feeling quite right, my friend. I might need to take a break from this here tour, or at least if we're going to see any more murals, maybe I don't look at the next one.
I say, I feel fine. Show me more. I smile.
Well, he says, that's really all I intended to show you up here. The other rooms are off limits except to the highest ranked members of the order. He says, let's get these gentlemen some fresh air and perhaps a refreshment.
Yeah.
And we'll take you down into the basement, and I'll show you down there to quash any suspicions you might have of caverns underneath the lodge. You kind of
Before I leave the room, I do a spot hidden check and see if I see like a door on that west wall.
You don't. It's entirely covered by the curtain. But little common sense would tell you that there is a room in that portion of the third floor.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Mr. Stanford.
If there's a door there, you're not sure. You'd probably have to pull the curtain back to make sure.
Mr.
I don't think
Stanford.
it.
I'm like standing in the middle of the room, like looking at Mr. Stanford. And I turn to the western wall, and I say, I thought that you were here to stop our suspicions. You said that you would show us the top floor.
Very well. He pulls the curtain back.
You two guys should sit outside.
He's kind of like, you can see this look on his face. It's kind of like, okay, well, on second thought.
You two got.
My face is like set in grim determination.
Who has the highest psychology roll among you all?
I think Jacob does.
Probably Jacob, yeah.
Jacob's got a good one. I know
Hold on.
Van Helsing's got a decent one.
I have a 45.
I have a 55.
55.
Psychology 50.
I'm not looking at this mural, man. If he's walking up and pulling this.
Roll psychology for Jacob.
Yes, maybe.
Nope.
Go ahead for Eusephus.
Oh, roll up for Yusuf?
Yeah.
All right, I'll see.
I was just asking for the highest first, the most likely to notice it.
Oh boy, this would be a really nice roll.
Edgar can roll too. Might as well let all you guys roll. I should be nice.
Oh, damn, I forgot to put the little thing. That is not going to make it with my 5%.
All right, so nobody made it. Stanford pulls back the curtain, and indeed there is a door there. He says, this is our main library. He says, we keep books in here describing secret rituals of the order. And once all of you are initiated into the various orders, we will give you access to this library and the books therein. And he takes you in there. Whoops.
Whoa.
And most of the room is full of sort of plush, luxurious furniture, reading chairs. There's lamps. There's some long, broad tables with chairs. And he begins showing you some of these books. And most of the library consists of many copies of 3 certain books. And he explains to you that this book is called Entering the Silver Gate, written by myself.
Oh, wow.
In this you can learn various secret occult manifestos. He says there are some recipes, some background, and some witchcraft information, things like that. And he says this is Entering the Silver Gate. He also shows you another book called Catechism of the Knights of the Outer Void. He says this was written by me and John Scott. And the other one, and there's several copies of these 3 books in the library. The other one is Holy Mysteries of the Great Return. And he says you'll be given access to these books once you work your way up through the ranks. And he says these are some of the more obscure books that we have. And he walks over to this table. Or actually, it's It's a cabinet on the wall with these doors, and he pulls out some keys and he unlocks it, opens the cabinet. Inside is a copy of Nameless Cult's Bridewell edition, a book, several books. I believe there are about 15 of them. Well, actually, I think it's about 8 of them. They all, on the spine, say Revelations of Glaaki, Glaaki. Another book called Cultus Des Gulas. A book called Cthulhu and the Necronomicon.
Oh, good.
And
can I borrow this one? You got like a
it's
checkout policy?
Necronomicon, just to be clear, it's called Cthulhu and the Necronomicon. It's a fairly slim volume, and quite a few other occult books inside the cabinet.
You said the Nameless Cults they have is a Bridewell edition, just like ours.
It is, but it doesn't appear to be the same. Just the appearance of it looks a little bit different.
So there's probably some variation in the text.
There's always variation in things like this.
Well, that would be interesting to compare our copy with their copy, huh?
Really, yeah. Some of the bizarre, like later chapters might be clear in this book, and the earlier chapters might be total mud in this one. You know.
Indeed, that could be interesting. And there are several, like I said, there's several other occult books in there. Some very interesting looking ones.
Can I roll spot hidden?
May I ask, Mr. Pollard,
I'll tell you when you need to roll spot hidden.
Okay. All right.
How did you come across this Nameless Cults?
He says that was passed down to me by a family member several years ago. This volume is quite rare.
Yes, we have a copy as well.
Yeah, he says it's written by it was originally written by von Junst. It describes his he traveled the world and studied different cults around the world. It's quite an interesting read.
What do you think of the cults that are written of in that text?
I wonder if comparing 2 copies would result in some revelations, possibly.
Yeah.
He looks at. Do you say that?
Yeah, yes. I say I wonder if studying 2 copies would result in some revelations.
He says yes. Usually, the owners of these types of books often include their own writings and notes. Sometimes within the margins, sometimes in separate texts inserted in the books. And indeed, this particular one had some additional material that came with it. He said, of course, I'd be interested in finding other copies of this book as well as the others. Because especially, I'd be very interested to find a copy of the original.
Oh, so would we.
Yeah.
Who wouldn't?
We should work on that together. I'm sure we could find an original copy if we put our minds to it.
Why do you say it like that, Lee?
Just because.
He says, yes.
Oh, sinister.
He says that could be wishful thinking, Jacob. I've been searching for a copy for many years. I'm afraid that they no longer exist.
Oh, you never know. Things have been hidden. You never know what you'll find under.
Well, I think that any copies that did exist have probably fallen into the hands of the Catholic Church.
Oh, don't say such a thing. That's a horrible thing to say.
They no longer exist. You know, it's that kind of.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is, they probably actually have a copy of it in the Vatican Library.
Right.
You know, I say that. I mean, seriously, they probably have a copy.
He says, I have my suspicions. So he closes the cabinet, locks it up tight, and he says, well, let's continue. And he says, I'll take you guys in the basement real quick and show you around down there. We don't really use it. We have a wine cellar down there, and we store some of our spirits down there.
Get some decent Bordeaux.
Spirits used Liberally, like not
Not
just
those-
alcohol.
Not those kind of spirits, Mr. Braun, and he chuckles. So he leads you down. We're going to wrap this session up here pretty soon, guys. It's getting late, so we'll do this real quick. This will be pretty easy. Doink, doink, doink. Bam.
Padlock door.
Ba-boom!
So he leads you down into the basement. And the basement basically consists of 3 empty rooms. And the third room here with the padlock on it. Well, first of all, the other 2 rooms just have barren earthen floors, just bare earth. The walls are of heavy stone set in mortar. And both rooms are entirely empty. The first room is held up by 4 wooden pillars, stout wooden pillars in the middle of the room.
Those are dynamite attachment points.
Yeah. Yeah, Jacob to himself. And the door leading to the last room there is locked. And inside the rooms, like the others, except the floor is of 5-foot square stones set without mortar. And it looks actually very, very old. He says this is an original part of the previous house that used to stand here. And as you can see, we use it as a wine cellar. They got the walls kind of lined with shelves. And he's kind of showing you around. And, he said, oh, you mentioned Bordeaux. Everybody roll spot hidden.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'll walk up to I'm definitely examining the wine rack and pulling out bottles and looking at the wall.
I'm looking at the floors.
I'm looking at the places where things are hidden.
01.
You rolled a 01.
I rolled an 01.
Holy
25.
cow, you see all the things.
I rolled a 25, which means
As I'm looking at the bottle of Hot Briand,
I
1872.
Yeah.
Ooh, I just okay, yeah, I made it.
Okay, if you made it, go ahead and check it. I'm glad somebody made it because I wanted to make this kind of easy for you guys. So Jacob, you notice on the eastern wall, as you're examining these, there's a shelf on the eastern wall. But behind the shelf, you notice an oddly set stone, slightly discolored from the other stones in the walls in this place. And Carl, he's still kind of showing the others around. He's showing you guys all the different kinds of liquor they have and everything. But you notice this oddly set stone.
I note it
behind the shelf there.
Yeah.
And
what Bordeaux sitting in front of it, I make sure I'm like, all right, this is where the La Mission is or whatever. That's where the stone is.
And am I seeing this as well, or am I seeing something else?
No, I'll let you check the skill though.
Okay.
Dude, pull the rock out. What's behind it?
No. I think this is a really good find because surreptitiously we can come back. There's the fire escapes. We can get down here.
What about the floor? You said they're not grouted down. I mean, do the tiles look loose?
No, the floors in the other 2 rooms are just bare earth, but the floor in this room are 5-foot square stones set without mortar, and it looks very old, like maybe hundreds of years old. The floor itself, very hard, looks like maybe granite stone set into the floor of this place. And they're all almost perfectly aligned with each other, and there's no mortar or anything like that. So we'll end the session here. And my intention actually was to have Carl, out of goodwill, and to show you guys there's no caverns down here or anything. My actual intention was to move the game along a little bit, okay? So we don't spend too much time talking about books and the Dark Child and this and that and this, was for you guys to discover when you were down here, unbeknownst to Carl Stanford, thinking that, of course, nobody's going to see it, Jacob rolls a 0-1 and bam, gets
Awesome.
lucky. There's something odd. It looks like, there's something odd about this particular stone. It looks like it could be a door or an entrance or something somewhere. So there's something secret in this room that Jacob found.
It's the breeding room where they got your daughter.
Yep.
Oh my God.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Jesus Christ.
And I would say that Jacob.
That's the only reason I brought the Sothoth 10 gauge. I'll be honest with you.
For the breeding room?
Yeah, point blank.
This is my breeding room shotgun.
Yeah, and I'd say that like Lee's suggestion is a good one. Now that you guys are kind of on a whole other level of trust, seemingly, with Carl Stanford and Barry Pollard and presumably John Scott, it wouldn't be too hard. Even as masters, you guys can come down here in the evening and stuff like that. It wouldn't be too hard to, sneak around down here late at night or something. But
let's go get a bottle of Bordeaux.
Well, just beware that, of course, Carl Stanford and all these guys, you guys, I'm talking out of game here. In game, you guys feel pretty confident that Carl Stanford was kind of on the level. He did a good job of kind of persuading you guys. So like, well, you know what? Maybe the stuff we did find is kind of bullshit. Maybe these guys are just know about the mythos and want us to join them so we can study the mythos together and, figure out how to stop this.
No one has
very
no one
fortunate
has
that Edgar was
no one has
asleep
murals
when they were
like that,
talking about God.
Just
Yeah. But at the same time, there should be some awareness, of the investigators. Like,
oh, this is
don't.
This is a repeat from 17 whatever, right?
Yeah. That's kind of what I'm saying. Like,
straight up.
Just you guys should always keep in mind, like, you shouldn't fully, you guys know, just in your gut, it's like an instinct, like you should know that
these guys are evil, core evil. Yeah, these guys are evil, man. It's right now. I mean, we've hit the wall as far as advancement.
Yeah, I guess that's what I'm saying too. Like, in so many words, what I'm trying to tell you is that everything that happened tonight in this session, even with Jacob spotting this thing in this room, maybe there's an entrance there or something secret. Was that intended? Or was it something that maybe Stanford overlooked? Or maybe he actually did? I mean, especially Jacob, after he sees it and kind of wonders, like, you know what? Maybe there's something more. And he looks over at Stanford, and he's there. He's got a bottle of wine, showing it to Edgar, and he's like, this is 1780, something like this. And you kind of look at him, it's like it makes you wonder, like, did he intend for me? Did he bring us down here so I could see this? Or does he just really didn't think that any of us see this? It is pretty well hidden, It's not like something that's very obvious. So I guess that's what I'm saying, like, especially like the rooms upstairs. Did he just want to, out of sign of goodwill, and wanted to bring you in a thing, just wanted to show you around a little bit? Or did he just want to go up there and blast your sanity? It's just kind of, you have to...
Right.
There's always that twofold, dichotomy going on.
Yeah, well, I think I know which side of the dichotomy I fall on. I mean, these guys are definitely sinister guys, man.
You guys are called Cthulhu investigators.
Yeah.
You're good guys.
Lee, you're loud and clear. You want to go in and blast these guys. I think we're getting to that point.
Yeah.
But first, I want to avail myself to the deep, vast access to psychoanalytical help, because you see, I tell you what, Cephas is in some serious trouble. I'm low on sanity.
Yeah. Well, psychoanalysis takes time too, unfortunately.
Well, he may need to sit his ass out while psychoanalysis goes on, because I'm so close right now. Like, I'm gonna see Goosebumps book and be like, ah.
Yeah, we may have to send Eusebius to Switzerland.
I'll prescribe you some more. You'll be fine.
He may need a little like a little lawn chair around Lake Lucerne with a blonde nurse for about 6 months.
We'll see how this plays out. Actually, because let me look at my notes real quick here too, because actually, and I wasn't going to tell you guys this, but we'll end the session with this because it's such a lovely way to end it. Both Eusebius and Edgar lost enough sanity tonight to be indefinitely insane. which in game terms mean they are both either going to have some kind of mania or some kind of phobia attached to them that they can only get rid of through therapy or psychoanalysis.
Or killing Cthulhu. So let's go through the door. Yeah,
right.
So let's go through the door.
Yeah. But yeah, it wouldn't be unacceptable actually, Kyle, if you wanted to send Eusephus to the asylum for a while, and let him get well, and have your tennis pro cousin show up one day.
Yeah, maybe time for the secondary characters to step in so these guys can take a rest, sanity-wise.
Yeah. So what's new these days in Boston, Brother Jacob?
I'm going to go check myself in.
Oh, there's this evil cult that worships Cthulhu, and
some of my best friends have lost their marbles.
And Edgar as well. Awesome. So that's the first thing we're going to have to do next session is figure out what kind of crazy bullshit insanity that Eusephus and Edgar are going to be suffering from.
Cool.
Right. And we didn't mention it, and Kyle didn't play it out too much tonight. You still with us, Kyle?
Kyle.
I think we just lost him.
Yeah,
but actually, Eusephus gained a mania from his exploits with the Dark Child. It is an obsession with numbers.
Yeah, he that came into play a little bit today already.
Okay.
He was playing.
So he's gonna have one stacked on the other now. So maybe Eusephus should go to the freaking sanitarium for a while.
Yeah.
But we can talk about that next time.
I'm even lower in sanity than Eusephus is, and we're in the 20s. So.
Awesome. That was great.
Yeah,
Thank
great.
You, Sean.
Yeah, great game.
Yeah, great game.
Yep, fun as always. I look forward to the next session. Should be pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen. Well, good night and thank you. We'll do it again.
Yeah. Good night.
Sounds great, guys. Thanks.
See
Have
ya.
a good one. Bye.